This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
You're wrong! If you're getting any compensation, it's not charity!
Russ Wakelin. Did you put me on a boat with frickin' dragons attacking me and whatnot? Now we're talking. And Stephen Buonocore in the third chair.
The D6 generation. Better than the Dice Tower and only 3 hours longer.
With contributions from Total Fangirl.
Vampires do not sparkle.
And our loyal listener.
Are you crazy? That's like 400 hours of gamer nonsense.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming, coming at the speed of a jet-lagged Oktoberfestian gaming guru. Today's edition is brought to you by Ryutama. Check out the Kickstarter for Ryutama, the natural fantasy RPG. Put the focus on exploration and nature instead of combat and violence. That's Ryutama, Ryuutama. I'm Geekly McNerdigan, your host. Today our panelists are Russ Zagema Alpha Wakelin and President of Stronghold Games, Stephen I Love Germany Buonocore. Let's begin. Issue number 1. Known for its blonde beauties, its severe fashion, and its myriad foods whose names sound like foreign porn titles, Germany holds a special place in the hearts of nearly all travelers and gamers alike. Although Germany as we know it is in full of these things today and more, it was not always so. Question. What is the official date, year only, though extra credit will be given for month and day, that Germany is considered to have been unified for the first time? Franz Rosenwig Russ.
I'm going to go with 87, but I don't know I got nothing.
Carl Schmidt Steven.
First time? It's got to be something like a million, like 100 years ago or something like that. We're not talking about the current unification, are we? I don't know. I'm going to go with 1793.
No, I'm sorry, but that is the first legitimate wrong you have both earned. 18 January 1871, although Stephen was correct in thinking unification, which is what I said, whereas Russ was thinking reunification, which is something entirely different.
Yes.
Issue number 2. There's really no telling what types of wild and crazy things can happen at a convention under normal conditions. Add the presence of tens of thousands of wild and crazy Euros and some of the best beer in existence, Essen, Germany can get really rowdy right around October of each year. Question. After a rowdy night of late Oktoberfest drinking, how many average gamer booth bombs does it take to get a standard footprint Spiel booth up and running the next day? Warsteiner Wakelin.
I'm going to go with 6.
Bitburger Buonocore.
That's so variable. Standard booth. We're going to go with 8.
Well, the answer, unfortunately, is average. Well, after a night of German beer, no average booth bum is going to be able to be awake. So only super booth bums will do it, and that would take between 4 to 8, so I'm going to give you both partial credit.
All right, I got credit.
Issue number 3, and that's all the credit you're going to get.
Wow.
There are many ways to travel through a dungeon on the way to fame and fortune. One may ride a mount if the halls are wide enough. One may walk if there's enough headroom. But the most popular way of going through a dungeon currently is, of course, rolling through a deep, deep dungeon. Question. Made popular by Adele, according to the Urban Dictionary, what does rolling in the deep mean? Rumor has it, Russ.
Rolling in the deep, isn't that... I mean crawling. It should be crawling.
Not even the question. Skyfall Steven.
It means you're scuba diving.
You guys are so lame. You guys are so not jive. Okay, you would know that it meant either unconditional love or the betrayal of the same, much like the betrayal of a dungeon. Well, anyway, let's move on. Issue number 4. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines pithy as using few words in a clever and effective way, or, somewhat less helpful, consisting of or abounding in pith. Shakespeare's opinion on the topic, of course, is well established with the quote, brevity is the soul of wit. Question, in what Shakespearean masterpiece is this pithy bit of advice offered? Ronaldo Russ.
Midsummer Night's Dream.
Third servant from the left, Stephen.
The Tempest.
No! Hamlet. As Lord Polonius tells Claudius and Gertrude that Hamlet is crazy. I really thought that was a gimme. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
This episode of the D6 Generation is brought to you by Lone Wolf Development. Take your game to the next level.
And by Urban Lasercraft. Tokens, templates, terrain, and more for your tabletop games. UrbanLasercraft.com.
And by Conquistador Games, focusing on immersive and thematic games. More details at cqgames.com.
And the War Store, bringing the war to your door since 1999, and that is for a decade or more.
And by Winged Hussar Publishing, providing books for students of history and history students. WingedHussarPublishing.com. And by Game Salute, publishing awesome tabletop games through the Powered by Game Salute program, supporting independent publishers, stores, and the industry at GameSalute.com. Hello!
Hello!
Hello.
Hey, and welcome to episode 136 of the D6 Generation. I'm Russ Wakelin.
I'm Craig Gallant.
And I'm not Rafe Hollywood Granger, who was just on the last show. I'm Stephen Buonocore, president of Stronghold Games.
Hey, Stephen, welcome back to the show.
I am so happy to be here and speaking to you guys. Thank you so much.
You've got some time travel ahead of you, I think.
You don't? Yeah, we got this all kind of like weird time traveling thing
yes.
that's going to happen on this show, right?
This is future Stephen.
Am I allowed to like
Right.
say like what?
Yeah.
Like,
So later
yeah,
we'll
like-
talk to past Stephen,
That's right.
and there will be a
Who
reverse.
does not know what future Steven knows, so it'll be intriguing.
Right, so
absolutely not.
Stephen, if you could tell your past self just one thing, what would you tell him?
Bring more copies of Space Cadets Dice Duel to the Essen show. Stephen, do that because you're going to sell out and you want more than there.
Oh, congratulations!
Oh, very nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was Essen was amazing. It always is amazing. It's not it's not a surprise really. I brought a larger number of Space Cadets Dice Duel than I have ever brought of any other game, and we sold out of them.
Nice.
For Sunday. So yeah, or just at the beginning of Sunday.
Well, congratulations to you and the Engelsteins. That's fantastic news.
Yes, it was great. The reception to it and Space Sheep and Going Gone, the other big releases we had there were all fantastic. If you ever think that the Germans or the Europeans in general only like Euro games, well, you're definitely not right. I mean, these games are not that. Maybe Space Sheep is a little Euro-y, but the other ones certainly are not, and we're doing really well in that market with all these new releases.
Well, that's fantastic. And speaking of Essen, in this episode we're going to talk to you more later, your past self,
Yeah,
the pre-Essen Stephen, about what it was like to get ready for Essen.
Right.
And sadly, he will not know to bring more copies of your games.
That's true.
But
Unfortunately, although we can travel in time, it's only in one direction at a very set speed.
right. We don't have that technology.
It's a shame.
And then also later we're going to review the game Dungeon Roll.
Yes.
Which was
rolling.
Great little game, and we're going to also announce the results of our Dungeon Roll contest.
And share them with you.
You're right, later in this very episode.
I won't be able to be here for that.
I know it's a bummer. That's
I
because
have played it, and it's really cool.
That's because you're in the time travel stream during that part of the show.
right.
It's very complicated,
Caught in an
Time-space
eddy
continuum.
in the space-time continuum.
like
if you
his
will.
couch.
Exactly like Eddie's couch.
Exactly right. So, and we mentioned a contest for Dungeon Roll. That's drawn to a close. This episode later, you will hear who the winners are of that contest. So, Stephen, that means right now...
And their entries.
And their entries. Right now, Stephen, we have a void of contest, a contest gap, if you will.
A dearth, if you will.
What? That cannot last. We
Wow.
cannot allow a dearth void of contests on this show.
Excellent.
Therefore, Stronghold Games must have a contest.
Well, that's fantastic. So what do you got to give away there?
Well, since we've been talking about Space Cadets Dice Duel, why don't we give away a copy of Space Cadets Dice Duel?
Sounds awesome.
Nice.
So,
Heck, let's make it a signed copy.
ooh, even better.
Oh, good.
Nice.
A signed copy.
Limited edition, hard to find
go.
signed copy of Dice Duel. So here's what we're thinking. What we want is we had a lot of fun with this a while ago. We did a commercial spot, and we had some fantastic entries. So I think we should do this again. You have for this contest, it's audio. You got to make an audio entry. It's going to be a 30-second, hard rule in this because it's a commercial, a 30-second audio-only spot for Space Cadets Dice Duel.
Yep.
Be as creative, as witty as you'd like, and if you have a really cool one, you could win the single signed copy of Space Cadets Dice Duel that Mr. Buonocore is kind enough to send out to one lucky winner.
Absolutely.
Did I say a single signed copy?
You did, yes.
That's too cheap. That's ridiculous.
What?
How could I even say such a thing? We've got to give away at least 2 signed copies.
Oh, sweet. So there will
two
be
signed copies.
2 winners.
That is craziness.
That's crazy talk. This guy's just, it must be all the jet lag and time travel from Essen. You're just giving
No
stuff away
kidding,
now.
huh?
Well, that's awesome.
The Engelstein's wrists are getting very tired signing all these
They
different
keep
copies
them
that I
working.
keep making them sign.
Awesome. So 2 copies. So 2 winners. First and second place will each receive a signed copy of Dice Duel. So
Wait.
Yeah.
Did I say 2 copies?
you did.
That's
Oh, my
crazy.
God. This
No,
can't
no.
be happening.
Whoa.
Well, listen.
All right.
We'll guarantee 2. But if there's somebody that's really good, who
All right.
also puts a really good one out there, we got to give another honorable mention at least. So let's say we're probably going to give away 3 signed copies.
Awesome. Well, this is getting crazy. So and keep in mind that we get maybe these audio contests, they sound hard. We get about, 16 to 20 entries a contest. So if Steven's being kind enough to give away 3 of them, that means a 20th of you all will all win something. Did I do the math on that right?
Chances of winning are going to be very high
like
here,
1 in
guys,
5.
boys and girls.
Yes. So be sure to enter this one. And we're looking forward to listen to your commercial entries.
Yes, be as creative as possible, but pithy as well.
Pithy.
Tell them exactly what has to be done again. What
So
is it?
what you got to do, it's got to be a 30-second commercial for Space Cadets Dice Duel. The wittier, the better. Audio only, and you must send your entry to contest@the d6generation.com. That's contest@the d6generation.com. Attach it in there. MP3 or WAV files are preferred. Get it to us, and we will listen to them, and we will play. We probably play all of them, unless there's anything inappropriate in them. We usually play all the entries. So you're pretty much guaranteed, if you put a little bit of work into it, to get this thing on the air. And then with a little bit of luck, you might win a copy of Space Cadets Dice Duel. Mm-hmm. All right. So
Employees of the D6 Generation, Stronghold Games, or any Engelstein are not valid to win one of these copies.
nice.
Uh-huh.
So we're looking. So Stephen, thank you so much for letting us give
You're
those
very
away.
welcome.
That's exciting. Other announcements. We just finished up the Lost Chapters book 65. In this one, we talk about
Technically, that means that Lost Chapters can retire now.
what they're found.
65.
65. They're retired.
yes.
I got that.
Oh, I didn't. I was sorry. I was brought back to what we talked about, which was
found?
the book club. Stephen, do you remember the book we talked about?
Yes, I do. I think. Oh, it's
It was
not on the
sci-fi.
list.
It was sci-fi, but I didn't put the title in the bullets. You had to actually
It's not on the book,
remember.
but it was an awesome book.
So Stephen had not read the book. Craig and I have read the books, right? And Craig, what was the book we did? Put Stephen out of his
We
misery.
did the Expanse
The trilogy, right?
Yeah.
I made pithy comments.
And
about-
and
by
Stephen did.
James S.A. Corey.
Yes, and it was a great book club. A lot of fun to talk about it. This time we didn't do a plot summary. We actually got in there and talked about our feelings, what we liked, what we didn't like, what the characters were like, what the best parts were.
Yeah.
And so if you read the book, definitely want to listen to that one. If you haven't read the book, probably read it first, unless you don't mind spoilers, because it's chock full of them.
Yeah, it is chock full of spoilers.
Chock.
In fact, half of it is an argument about the end of the whole third book.
It is.
So.
There's a vibrant debate.
Exact. We get heated.
Yeah, we
Heated,
do.
I say.
So that takes care of that. So Craig, what's the time now for?
Oh, geez, I don't know. It could be time for Achievements in Gaming!
It is indeed a time for Achievements in Gaming. That was an epic
That's not
achievement
easy.
there, Craig.
Yeah.
And Achievements in Gaming is brought to you by, check out the Kickstarter for Ryutama. That's Ryuutama, the natural fantasy RPG. Put the focus on exploration and nature instead of combat and violence. As our third chair today, Stephen, what have you been playing lately?
Oh, I go first?
Yes, you do.
Oh, I
Sure.
think I go first. Well, you
You don't have to, but you're welcome to.
always putting the pressure on me. Why are you doing that to me? All right, no. Well, okay. This is almost going to sound a little bit like a commercial, but I'll
I'm
get
sure
to
it is. That's okay.
Not. But most of my gaming of actual games have been around my own things, because most of the gaming I've done recently has been in Essen.
So demoing,
So-
basically.
Demoing / playing a little bit, every once in a while I was like, sit down and play a little bit as well.
Mhm.
So basically got in Space Cadets Dice Duel, which
Yep,
we
yep.
just talked about on our contest there. I played with Jeff himself.
Ooh.
This time I played on his side so I could win because he's so damn good at it. I played Going, Gone.
Mhm.
That's by Dr. Scott Nicholson, right?
Nice, yeah.
Right, of Board Games with Scott Fame.
Mm-hmm.
That game is not out quite yet. It's going to be out at the end of November, maybe around the time this posts. It'll be in stores November 27th or something like that. Space Sheep. That's the Star Wars sort of like themed. You'll notice the box art is quite Star Warsian. Puzzle game though, where you're cooperating to get your space sheep and your Shepherd class ships back to their homes.
Nice.
It is a very thinky cooperative game, and of course you can put traders into the game because how could any cooperative game not have a potential trader?
There's got to be a wolf in sheep's clothing someplace.
Absolutely, we actually use that as with the many sheep jokes we have in there. That's yet another one that we use.
Nice achievement for that.
The traders. Achievements. Give me some more achievements.
Here's another one. There you go.
We also played the expansion, Voluspa base game with its new expansion, which will be added sometime in December now for us. Voluspa Order of the Gods. Great tile laying game. I highly recommend that for those who just like tile laying games.
Yeah, I love the theme and the artwork too. I played the base game. It's a lot of fun.
You guys have been playing it. I know. I've seen you tweet about it. So yeah, no, it's a blast. Scales really nicely with 2 to 5 players. Become a very different kind of game between those two.
And with Thor just coming out, the theme works great.
Yes, it does.
What a coincidence!
What a coincidence! Did we do that on purpose?
No.
Am I that much of a genius?
No.
Not really. No.
Wait,
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I gotta say I'm not. But some of the more interesting things we've been playing, actually, or I've been touching on lately, are things that are directly out of Essen, including prototypes that I've had to play now because we bring things back. I go to Essen, right? We're out there in Germany. It's like meeting all day during the show, and I'm meeting about either prototypes or I'm meeting about games that have been done in Europe by other small publishers, and therefore I can bring them back and do North American English editions on them.
Right.
Several of them that I did that have. I'm only going to mention the really good ones, basically, because those are the ones I'm actually really high on, and could be seen in a Stronghold Games catalog at some point. I don't know.
Nice.
So I'm kind of giving you guys a little bit of information here, but Nosferatu by Grossomodo Editions. It's another hidden trader game. It's sort of a combination of Werewolf and the Resistance. It's sort of like in there. Plays in like 20 minutes. 5 to 8 players. And it doesn't need a moderator like Werewolf. It has a built-in moderator who's able to run the game. He's Renfield, and he's trying to protect the master, the Nosferatu, and everyone else is a hunter trying to kill the Nosferatu. Very interesting take on the werewolf style games. CV by Grana is a dice-based game. CV is the name of a resume in most of the other world. So the subtitle of this game is like, what is your life about? That's sort of it's sort of like you're creating your life by with dice rolls and purchasing cards to bring them in front of you. Really, really works really well thematically.
Do you have a little vehicle with pegs in it that you put the little kids in and stuff?
It is not like the Game of Life, no.
Just checking.
I'm sure you are. Very modern, mechanically done game, dice rolling, and very highly thematic for a Euro-styled game with dice. Very nice. Mafia City did not even come out this year by Stronghold Games. It came out last year, and I found it recently. Really interesting area control game that we're taking a very close look at right now because obviously the theme really works well. Area control and backstabbiness. Really nice, like hybrid American style Euro game.
Cool.
Panamax is a delivery game in the Panama Canal. You're you're an investor in cargo in the Panama Canal. Basically, you're moving ships through the Panama Canal. The game is absolutely
gorgeous. Let me ask you this: are there lots of bagels in this game?
Mm-hmm.
Bagels?
Yeah, there are lots of bagels because there's so many locks. See what
see what
I did there?
Man, that was
wow.
That was heavy. That was heavy.
Since you're near New York, you might have got that one. Just saying.
Anyway, next year is the 100th anniversary of the Panama Canal, and I'm bringing out a game that has a Panama Canal theme. It really is an interesting game. It's a heavy Euro, so it'll go beyond along the lines of like my CO2 and its weight in my line, but really sounds interesting. So we're taking a very close look. And at BGG Con, we have the prototype for anybody who wants to take a look at it.
Nice.
The final game that I played recently is called Dark Moon, but most people who know this game will know it as BSG Express, as in Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, yeah.
Designer Evan Derrick, who's a good acquaintance of mine, wanted me to take a look at it. He rethemed it, and because he can't use Battlestar Galactica,
Sure, right.
Rethemed it, changed some mechanics to bring it a little bit further away from the BSG, the Fantasy Flight game, and we're taking a kind of close look at it.
Cool.
It's a really interesting game. It's a very popular print and play game right now on Board Game Geek.
Nice.
Oh.
Well,
That's been my stuff. So I give you guys a little information on stuff where Stronghold Games is kind of like looking in the future.
Well, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Busy.
You've been quite the gamer there, and game designer / game publisher / game creator there. That's awesome.
Uber guru.
Yes, Craig, would you like to go next?
Yeah, mine's not so big.
Okay.
So last week, instead of Extra Life, I at the last minute got a chance to go to HonorCon, which was the big convention in South Carolina, all about Honor Harrington and all the Honor Harrington books. And I actually got a chance to go out and meet all of the people that Russ and I talked to from Evergreen Studios, the movie production company, or excuse me, the what did they call it? Writing in the transmedia. The transmedia space.
That
it
sounds
was
cool.
exciting. It was very
sounds like
cool.
a warp drive.
It is.
Fire up the transmedia reactor.
The transmedia space.
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
you're traveling through. Anyway,
Right.
so there wasn't a lot of gaming for me last weekend. However, I did sit in with Pat Doyle, who was a great guy from Bu9. Bu9 is the group of fans of Honor Harrington that are now actually working as active advisors in the Honor Harrington universe, and they help all the new authors that are being brought in, and they help David Weber. And they're like, if you ever wondered how many decks a Saganami class cruiser has, you just ask one of these guys. That kind of thing.
Nice.
And Pat, actually, I had this really cool thing all set up. He's a big Star Trek fan, so he had Star Trek Attack Wing all set up, and he was using what is it, Fleet Captains? Is that what that game's called?
You tweeted a picture of this, and I was intrigued.
I did.
He had Starfleet Captains, which is the strategy sort of board game with tiles.
Yeah.
And he was using it. Now, how he was using the attack wing?
He was using that map those tiles set up as a campaign map.
Oh wow!
And so basically, and a sort of a twisted version of those rules for the campaign rules.
Oh, cool!
And then whenever you had fleets meet, and it was asymmetrical, so you didn't know how many points you were going to hit when you went out there. Excuse me. And so so when you hit, then you played Attack Wing, Star Trek Attack Wing.
Now, does he have any? Are those rules published anywhere?
They are not published anywhere, but he is going to neaten them up and give them to me so I can give them to you.
Someone made. Well, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm very excited about this, and someone said to me the other day that really got me intrigued about Attack Wing. I've been avoiding Attack Wing because
it looked a lot better seeing people who enjoyed it playing it at HonorCon than it did at the ridiculous WizKids demo booth.
Right. So we have some very local folks who are into it too. And I've been looking at the models, and they're not quite as good as the Star Wars models. And actually, on Facebook of all places, I asked John Richard. He had put pictures of it. I said, "Isn't it just like Star Wars painted with Star Trek on top? Does it feel like that?" He said, "Kinda, but I like the extra factions." That hit me.
Yep.
Wait, Star Wars is only 2 factions. Star Trek is like a zillion.
Yep.
So you've got a really much more robust differentiator there.
Now, on the other hand, so you're broader but not as deep.
Right, exactly. Each faction doesn't have any ships yet. Now they can build them out.
Yeah.
But
that's
cool.
They were having a blast. And there are a lot of different tweaks. Having the captains on there, having the different weapon systems. And, of course, it would be pretty lame in Star Trek if you had bought your torpedoes like you do in X-Wing and then you only got to shoot them once.
Right.
So they actually have a mechanic in there for you're reloading your torpedoes.
Nice.
So it was cool. And at the other end of the spectrum, and this is all on me, this has nothing to do with Ad Astra Games. Okay, is the Saganami Island Simulator, the actual Honor Harrington game. And I am sorry, my brain just does not process math as fun.
Let me guess. This is like Harpoon, the sci-fi version.
Yes.
Have you seen
this
Harpoon played?
This not recently, but this game incorporates the 3D space.
Ooh,
It
nice.
incorporates all of the different layers of defense that these different ships have. It just one example. I walked up, and the owner of Ad Astra Games, whose name escapes me, and I'm very sad. I'm sorry about that. I have his card and I can't find it, but he was very nice, constantly trying to help me out, understand the game. And so I walked up, and this is what I hear. We're flushing all of our pods, so we're firing 80 missiles at you. Okay, 80 missiles. So I'm going to start rolling dice. And you're rolling dice, and it's 2d10, the highest minus the lowest. And I mean, it's like all this weird, literally math. At which point, every time I'm going, how come he's just not rolling a 1d? Never mind. Okay, so... And okay, 40 got through. Okay, now we do ECM. Okay, through the ECM. 27 got through. Okay, now we do the point defense. 13 got through. And it's just like, I'm sorry, what? Okay, now what is the armor side? And it's just like layer after layer after layer. So if you are a massive crunchy math gamer, then that game is going to be for you.
Now, how many ships with that level of granularity in the mechanics? How many ships were versus each other in that kind of?
I was watching. From what I understand, the main book is actually designed as like you're at the Naval Academy at Saganami Island, and it's all simulations.
Wow!
And the simulations I was watching was one guy who was commanding 2 smaller ships that were better technically. Was going against like 5 ship, like 2 cruisers against 5 frigates or something like that. So there were 7 ships on the board, but it was just like, and if you bring them closer together, they can link their point defense. It's just like in the books.
Awesome.
And any reader of Honor Harrington knows that gets wicked complicated. And they're talking about, X times the 13,000 trillion billion to the 3rd power, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, same thing. So I couldn't do it, but they looked like they were enjoying it immensely. And they don't use models when they're playing that game. They use these little cardboard boxes with the ships in them, which was sad to me. But they sold all the models, so you could actually get the models of the Honor. And it was awesome because they had get a super dreadnought or get 3 cruisers, or they had these awesome like for instance Honor of the Flag pack, and it was all the ships that were involved in that novel. So it was very cool tie-in, although I didn't play it. So I made up the difference in my gaming, not gaming because of HonorCon. This past weekend, yesterday actually,
yes.
I went to our friend Chris Flores's Games Day at Chez Fleuret.
Did you use that as a makeup day for Extra Life?
And I used that as my makeup day for Extra Life. Yep. And I played Firefly with the new mission, which I thought was awesome.
Yep. And
it was a lot of fun, and you really totally get the full feel of the game. You just don't have to worry about all the little side things. Right. That might be because I won, but still. Hex, which is an awesome game for Extra Life or game parties and stuff. We played that twice. That was a blast. Space Cadets Dice Duel. Somebody mentioned that. That came out twice. And that was awesome because Matt and I were trying to convince everybody, like, trust us, this is a very intense game. You're probably not going to enjoy it while you're playing it. As soon as it's over, you're going to love that you played it. And they're like, well, we don't even understand what that means. Just don't worry about it. No, because you're focused so much on
Steven, don't even worry about what he's saying.
Commercial for my product.
You're sold out. Don't even worry about it. He can say anything. It's selling like hotcakes. Don't worry about it. Craig, go ahead.
You don't have to. And if me telling people they are going to love the fact that they played it hurts you, Steven, then I don't know what else I can do for you. So I'll stop talking about it. How's that? So we had a good time. And then we played Lords of Waterdeep with all the expansions, and it was awesome, and it was wicked cool, and we loved it, and we just loved it so much. Like we sold all of our other games to buy extra copies of Lords of Waterdeep because it was that cool. I felt like I was playing a totally different game than everybody else with Lords of Waterdeep because they were all familiar with the expansions.
Yep.
And I was like, what are the skulls? What does that do? Is it -10 every turn? What's that?
Yeah,
oh my God. So it's all awesome. It was all really cool. And I didn't use any of the expansion stuff and came in third in a game of 5 people. Or no, wait, is the expansion bring it to 6?
The expansion brings it to 6, yes.
Yeah, so I played with 6 people and I came in third. So
how did Dice School Duel go over? You guys played it twice, right?
Yeah, it went fine. Oh. I'm sorry, man.
What happened there?
I have a what do they call it in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Idiom, sir? Yes,
idiom.
I have an idiom.
An idiom.
And, you break my idiom, and, we had fun. It was great. Yeah.
All right.
Obviously, it was awesome.
No,
It
it's
was
fantastic. What you're saying is actually a point well taken. When you're playing that game, it's like stressful, right? It's like you're working at it, and you're like screaming at each other, and you're like panting, and then all of a sudden, like, oh.
Only when it's over do you actually realize there was a story and like, oh, remember when, and then when. And
yes,
that was my point. That's where I was going, but whatever. You guys tell the story. That's
all right. So,
that was the time. I mean, when we played at Gen Con, we had captains, so we had 4 people per ship. And at Chris's, we did not have captains because there were so many games going on. We only had 3 people per ship. And I think I prefer it with a captain, but I think it's more stressful with a captain because there's somebody who sees everything. So they're even yelling at you harder than we were all just trying to combine, and the engineers were sort of acting as captains, which was good. But yeah, I think it was more stressful when we had captains. I know it was more stressful for me when I was the captain, so I don't think I'm ever going to do that again. But I was having a blast as the shields, propulsion, and sensor officer.
Nice.
Or tractor beam officer. So yeah, we had a blast. It was good. Russ, what did you play?
All right, cool. Well, so let's see. First of all, excitedly, I got back into Malifaux 2nd Edition, Craig.
Yes, you did.
So
I heard about that.
I was waiting. So I've been waiting in the wings on Malifaux 2e. I was like, I don't want to play the beta. I don't want to go through all that stuff. Just call me when it's ready, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I felt like I was ready because at Gen Con I got the new deck of cards, and Weird sent us a bunch of stuff to give away. That's our next contest. And also, I got the book. So I'm like, okay, I'm looking at this stuff I want to play. So our local, one of our local, not outrider, not press ganger, what do they call it for
henchman.
Henchman, thank you. For a weird
one of the local henchmen.
One of our local henchmen, Adam, agreed to show me the ropes, and I had an absolute blast. It does play smoother. It plays just as Malifaux-y. I like the new missions. I love how the Perdita, the Ortega family works now. It was just a lot of fun. I can't wait to play again.
Told you.
I love it. I'm going to play more next week. So got that. Then for Extra Life, I did do Extra Life this year. First of all, big thank you to everyone who donated.
Absolutely.
It was fantastic. You guys, we totally dropped the ball. Craig and I didn't get our Extra Life pages up until like less than a month before the event.
Like 2 weeks before.
I know, and I felt really, really bad about it. It was one of those things where I thought we had all the time in the world. I was like, oh my goodness, it's almost upon us. Yeah. And you guys stepped up again and donated lots of money as our listeners. Really appreciate it. We hit all our goals, and Extra Life just was a record. I think as of yesterday, which was the makeup day, they were just shy. They were like $80,000 shy of $4 million raised for Children's Hospital.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah. Fantastic.
So fantastic.
Thank you guys for doing that. We as donators and people who don't have the time to organize such events, we thank you very much for doing it.
Well, it's been great because so many gamers, and it's awesome to see because the first year, Craig and I got a lot of donations because very few people did it. Now everybody's, which is fantastic. So you get a lot of little donations, which is awesome because it all adds up to more money. So it's even better for everyone, and it's been great. And Boston Children's, which is our local hospital, so most of the New England gamers raised for that one. It got over $180,000 just for it. So that's great stuff. So that was
phenomenal.
So I thought this year, since it's 4 kids and I've got 2 kids and they like to game with their dad, I'm like, you know what, girls, I'm going to play my girls all day for Extra Life. So we got up and they're like, so how's this work? I explained to them and it's like, can we stay up all night? So no, you guys don't get to stay up all night. But I let them stay up till 11:30. So we gamed literally from 8 in the morning till 11:30 at night, the 3 of us. And then I went on to game the rest of the night playing video games. But so we played 2, and so we played the morning, we played at my house. And then in the afternoon, we went to Myriad and played there. And then we went back and played a couple more games before bedtime. So played a couple rounds of Jetpack Unicorn. Have you heard of this game?
No.
So Jetpack Unicorn is a game from Weird Miniatures, of all companies. And it's a card game, and it's a storytelling card game. It's kind of like the Who Would Win in a Fight game, where you get Darth Vader or Martha Stewart, and they give you a category like pie baking, who would win, and each side argues it, and the judge decides. Well, this is kind of like that, but it's like, which would you rather have, magnetic hands or magnetic head? And you have to describe it. And there's different categories like, Is it better? And then what also happens is you get dealt a deck of cards. And in this card, there are words like, or phrases like snakes or cupcake or whatever. And you had to pick one of these cards and work it into your explanation. And if you win, if the judge picks your side is better, you get to expose that card to get the points in that card. And if the weirder the word is, the more points it's worth. It's kind of one of those neat little storytelling, great little party game kind of things. A lot of fun with that. It's called Jetpack Unicorn because there actually are some cards in there with jetpacks and unicorns. Also, then a good friend of the show and Nerd Herder podcast host, Ian, agreed at Myriad to host a Hero Quest game, the old school Hero Quest. He has a pristine copy of Hero Quest. In fact, I tweeted a picture of it. It was like, oh my God, it looks like it's fresh out of the box from 1980s. And he agreed to host a game for my two daughters and Mr. Christian's kids. And so the kids played, and Ian ran it, and they had a great time with that. Then I broke out this game I kickstarted last year called Crossmasters Arena. This game is based on actually a video game, but it's basically, now it's out, and it's these little, really nice models. They're not even painted. They're made out of this plastic polystyrene stuff, so they're all different colors. So the head that's yellow is a different piece of plastic than the face that's tan, and they look really pretty. They're like, anybody's familiar with Tokidoki and those really high-end sort of collectible polystyrene, plastic things. They're like that. And this game comes with all those, and you have an arena, and each guy's got different character stats, and you basically fight. And the kids, I taught my girls this game in the morning, and when I kickstarted, I got I have 30 of the figures now. So we played it a couple times. They fell in love with it, so we brought it to Myriad, and we taught the Flores kids the game. They wouldn't stop playing it. So it was Christian and myself and the four kids playing it. We played it nonstop at Myriad. We played it 6 times in a row. They loved it. It was so much fun. Because what's cool about it is the way you fight each other and the way the collection that you win is each team gets a certain number of these coins. And as you kill guys, you take the coins from the other team equal to the level of the guy you killed. So it's got like an army building point system, kind of like a miniature war game where each character you pick for your team is a different point value. So you kill him. If he's a level 3 guy, you get 3 coins from the other team. And then when someone kills my guy, I lose my 2 coins to the other team, and they move around the table. As soon as one team runs out of coins, the game's over, and the guy with the most coins wins. So it's kind of there's other ways to get coins as well. So there's a lot of abstract ways to do it. It's pretty neat. We had a lot of fun with it. And then we also played the classic King of Tokyo, which my girls are kind of not so sure about that game.
I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah, people love it. They're not so good.
I like that a lot. No, you don't like it too much? I dig
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. My problem is
You know what? The first time I played it, I was like, oh, I'm going to buy this. How much was it? Thinking that it might be $15, and it's 50. It's 50 for just some cardboard, and not
nice
a lot of that.
Lots of cards, but yeah, and it got giant dice, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it didn't do it. That just the price point to me killed my interest in it.
Well, it's funny because the Flores family, they love it. I mean, it's one of their favorite
it was
games.
out a lot yesterday.
And a lot of gamers I know like it. It gets played a lot. I don't know. And you think I would like it. I like kaiju.
Yeah.
I should like it. So then also played Summoner Wars with my daughter. She loves that game, my oldest daughter. Then, prior to Extra Life, we had sort of a gap in our recording schedule. So the shows got spread out a little bit, so I got a lot more games here. Played High Command some more. Still liking that game a lot. Been playing Level 7 with our little Level 7 posse. That's been going great. That was Omega Protocol. Played, you like this one, Steven? Played Time and Space.
Yes, I do like that one.
I know.
Thank you.
So Time and Space is a funky game. It's by Stronghold Games. But what's interesting about it is, a little bit like Dice Duel, everything happens at the same time. There's no downtime for the players. So it's all these little sand timers that some of them go in your spaceships and some of them go on your planet where you're building things. And you flip these timers over and you put them on spots, and then you wait until the timer empties out and you can do the action of whatever it is, like loading crew. And it's basically a trading. There's no combat, right? It's a trading game where you're moving in a cargo carrying game kind of thing. You're trying to make money.
It's a highly interactive pick up and deliver game. This is your achievement. I'm not going to go too deeply, but highly interactive pick up and deliver games.
It was fun. We liked it. We played it plays very fast. And we played and I like the app you guys have for the iPhone. So the overall game is timed as well. But if you have your phone, there's a little free app that Stronghold Games has that has stuff for all of them. And what I like about Time and Space, it gives you a little countdown. It's like 15 seconds remaining, and it kind of counts down for you to let you know what's going on. It's kind of fun.
Thank you.
Other couple quick games I played more of the Duke. The Duke is fast becoming the best abstract game I've ever played.
I don't know this one.
Period. If you see the Duke, grab it. If you know someone has the Duke, play it with them. It's by Catalyst Game Labs. It is awesome. It's dangerously close to replacing chess for me as just my all-time favorite abstract game. Firefly, played more of that. Played another game with a quick mission, Craig. Always fun. Fast, fun. Love it.
Absolutely.
That mission now makes that game totally awesome.
Yep. I actually played with the Big Damn Heroes cards.
Oh, nice. Yeah. How'd you like those?
I loved them. It was awesome. It's it doesn't really do a lot. It's just sort of each one of them just has one additional extra special rule. Mm-hmm. I think it's like you get an extra $100 every time you proceed when you're misbehaving, but you get them all. You get the whole crew, and all of a sudden you're churning up like $500 more bucks every time you do something. And I'd like to give a quick shout out to our friend Miles, who now lives on the wrong side of the country.
Right.
And his local professional gaming store, Cloud Gap Games, which is apparently an amazing game store, very similar to Myriad, he says. And it is Cloud Cap Games that actually sent me the Big Damn Heroes because they're promo cards to get people to buy the game in stores.
Right.
And so, and Miles heard me bemoaning the fact that I didn't have them, and he went and approached the owner, and they sent them to me. So that was awesome. So thank you, Miles. Thank you, Cloud Cap Games, and everybody thanks you because yesterday I actually had who did I have? And that means I was doing. Oh, anyway, I had Mal and Inara and Wash all on the same, and I had them on Serenity. Nice. So maybe that's why I won.
That could be it.
Although I still happen to think that Tandy, with all of her free recruiting, is awesome. A captain to be reckoned with. But yes, that's an awesome game.
Yep, and then last I played Suburbia also, which is a fun little game.
My buddy Ted at Bezier Games.
Yeah, it's a good game. And I played all those things, Craig.
Yes, where did you play all those things,
Well, at
Ross?
Extra Life or on the regular Tuesday gaming there. I played many of them there at Myriad Games Manchester.
Ah, yes, Myriad Games Manchester. Used to be the flagship store for Myriad Games for actual in-store gaming, but not anymore.
Have you been to the New Salem location?
I have not, but I've seen pictures. Their New Salem location is crazy with ridiculous square footage for gaming and nice and clean, as all the Myriad games are.
I think it is as large as DACA was.
Really?
It is huge.
Yeah, it's multi-floor, isn't it?
No. Well, there's another floor.
There's
another floor.
There's another floor that's like for platinum members only.
I thought it was a back room. There's a huge room in the back. There's a huge open area. Great gaming. They have games set up. You can walk in and just try them out. The Salem location is fantastic. They're opening another location in Dover next month.
Yes, they are.
And don't forget the Staten Island store. So quickly becoming a New England powerhouse of gaming.
That's right.
Well, I got to give a big shout out to Staten Island store with my homeboy Paul.
Nice.
Right here in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
He's the part owner and manager of the store, and I've been over there. Looks fantastic, by the way. One of the nicest looking game stores I've ever been to.
Not a surprise. Yeah, Myriad Games. You see that sign, just go on in. You're gonna have a good time.
That's right.
All right. What about modeling, Stephen? You do any modeling?
Oh.
Now, and we're not talking about the swimsuit that you did last year.
Well, yeah, like, hey, we said we're not going to talk about that. I can't. No, unfortunately, I can't. I no. Between my eyes and my time, I don't do modeling. I wish I could. I mean, because I really want, at some point in my life, I want to play a miniatures game with you guys. Pick something basic. All right. We're going to do this at some point.
All right,
okay,
sounds good.
Okay.
Good.
We can do that.
I haven't done much. I'm working on my level 7 guys for this week's game, so I've almost got the Fear guys done and the Blasters, who I've been working on for a while, but I haven't got as much modeling as I wanted to. Been distracted, but also I'm going to slip in here that I ordered. Craig goes with it. I just backed the Kickstarter that is doing these awesome sci-fi tiles. It's kind of like Terraclips, but for sci-fi, and looks fantastic. I'm getting it for Sedition Wars, so I want to do that whole. Replace all those tiles with that, so I don't know if that really counts.
Yeah, then you could actually play that game.
Yes, I really want to. I love the rules. All right, Craig, what have you been doing for modeling?
Okay, well, I usually make up for my lack of gaming in the fall with a lot of modeling, and I wasn't going to be able to do that, and then there was a hang-up in the publishing process of the second book, and I kind of took advantage of that and did a little painting. So I just finished 22 Ariadne models for Infinity.
Nice.
So that's a game where you generally have about 10 models, and so now I have 22. And it's a game I haven't played in forever because I didn't really like it when I played it, so I don't know why I painted it, other than I got guilty with all these models piling up behind me, so I decided I wanted to clear the deck. So in this project, I just did 22 Ariadne models for Infinity.
Nice.
I just did 24 10 Thunders models for Malifaux.
Wow. Malifaux, 24 models on a Malifaux?
Yeah,
really?
well, you'd never use all of them at the same time, right? Because you're usually, running 5 to 7.
Right.
But I have all the choice. Well, that's that marketing thing that Weird does now, where your little mini guys, you have to buy them in a 3-pack. So, so I've got 4 of those. So that's 12 models right there, of which I might use 4.
Yeah, you really shouldn't be within 8 models of your War Machine army with the Malifaux army. Just saying.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, and there you go. Because I did 32 Retribution models minus the COD pieces.
You guys,
War
are like machine. You guys are just machines. The way you guys.
Well, he is much more of a machine than I am.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I get in the zone.
Yeah.
And I just started working on my new Dwarven Forge dungeon tiles, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah,
from the Kickstarter. This is, without a doubt, the first Kickstarter I did that I'm 100% happy, satisfied, excited.
Yeah.
When my vampire stuff came, I was like, "Oh, what the hell did I do?" and I was opening it, and I'm not a fan of the material, and I'm not an apologist for the material. I didn't like the material.
Yeah.
I have a billion friggin' models in this material now. I pulled out completely. I put $1 into the vampire one that just ended, so I could follow it.
Yeah.
I pulled that out because I was like, why am I I even contemplating this? I mean, everybody knows about the debacle of the terrain stuff, which I've got some of it, but not all of it. Even the Ares Games Age of Sail, the Sails of Glory game was due out in August. It is now November. I'm starting to think that for me anyway, the tidal wave of Kickstarter glory is over, and I'm finding an easier and easier time not kickstarting things.
Yeah.
But boy, the Dwarven Forge dungeon tiles thing was awesome. It came on time. It came in 2 enormous boxes that must have cost a fortune to ship. I went and I got the actual Picorni paints. They actually made a set of paints specifically to paint I got the unpainted dungeon tiles because I wanted more tiles. And they made a set of paints specifically so you can paint yours to match all the other dungeon tiles and all the other terrain that Dwarven Forge makes. So that's awesome.
Wow.
And I started that last night, and I can't tell you how many boxes of this stuff I have, but I started painting it, and it was awesome. I had a blast.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
Well, that's great. So what about this is like geeky stuff like books and movies and TV shows. Steven, what have you been watching, reading, and listening to?
Well, I just have to start with Ender's Game. And and we can't give any spoilers out for this. Well, this is kind of weird because, I mean, like, half of the geek universe has probably read Ender's Game, right?
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
Maybe. Not everybody maybe has. It's kind of... But anyway, it just came out a couple of days ago, so we can't really talk in detail about it, but I was very, very pleased with the experience.
Really?
Interesting.
I was very pleased. Wow, and you guys
interesting.
I'm going to tell you that it was the worst adaptation I've ever seen of a book I loved. So
oh God, how could you say that?
I could defend it, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
I'm in Craig's camp.
We really have to talk about this at some point because I mean, to me, let me just finish this. To me, it was like, I mean, I think that they captured as well as they could such a complex book with so much going on. They left things out, of course. You only have 2 hours or whatever, 2.5 hours, whatever it was. I'm so sad to hear you say that. I definitely want to hear why you didn't like it.
Well, exactly what you just said is what they did. They captured every important moment, and that's what they did. You saw a snapshot. Oh, that's that. Oh, that's that moment where that happened. Oh, that's that moment where that happened. Oh, that's that moment where that happened. With absolutely no internal consistency or tying the scenes together, so that literally thought I felt like I was flipping through a picture book of the novel. That's how I felt. With the scenes were not connected. There was no actual internal flow to the whole thing.
Yeah.
The visuals were there, but they were only there for a heartbeat, and then they were gone. I think my deepest disappointment was that I listened to that hour-long interview with Orson Scott Card where he explained, they're going to use Ender's shadow, so it's going to be more about Bean looking at Ender and experiencing the city. They did none of that.
Bean had, like, no
they
screen.
did not.
Yeah.
Right.
They did not, but they should. I don't think they should have. Right.
Now,
right.
I disagree wholeheartedly and I disagree, and I never would have even thought about doing that, except that I listened to Orson Scott Card for an hour tell me why that was the only way to do the story, and he convinced me, and then they didn't do it. So, I don't want to get into any more details, but I skipped out on a party to go see that movie because my babysitting situation
he's not
is
bitter.
and I'm not bitter at all. Not at all. No, I am so brutally disappointed that
I think they should have.
Well-
So if The Hobbit can be 3 movies, this could have been 2.
This could easily.
And what they could have done was split. There needed to be more. There needed to be more battle college, or the training simulator, 3D thing.
Battle School.
Battle School should have been a whole film, and then Officers, whatever they called the second half, should have been a whole film.
I must say that I wholeheartedly agree that they, again, without going too much, they could have done so much more on the training stuff. So much more. This was his whole thought process there gets talked. He gets done so much better in the book.
Yeah.
But again, when you have to, and most books get done in right. Your average book gets done in one movie and gets done in less than 2 hours. And usually we will have good experiences. Right. So I thought that they did as good as they were going to do in one movie.
And I'll tell you what, and you're absolutely right that they couldn't put everything in, Stephen. But what the problem was, they tried. Yeah. That's the problem. And they, instead of doing a few things that the book did and doing it well, they tried to do everything the book did and did it all in a really shallow surface level with nothing deeper behind it. And the ending was, I thought, a betrayal of I felt honestly the Orson Scott Card of the millennium betrayed the Orson Scott Card of 1985. That's how the last 5 minutes of the movie I felt was a betrayal of everything the original book did. But that's just me.
But he's not strong feelings.
Not bitter at all. Not bitter at all.
Tom Vassell has that new podcast. What does he call it? I even forgot now. The way like you go back and forth between what somebody takes one position, somebody takes another position. You and I should be on that show now talking about Ender's Game. I don't think he does it for geeky stuff. He does it for game related stuff. But
that's another lost chapter.
I have a different opinion. I think Russ is going to be closer to your opinion. It sounds like.
I think my wife and I saw it. And she had the same problem I did, which is in the book, Ender is a sympathetic, empathetic character. In the movie, he's really not. In the movie, he comes across more as a cold-hearted jerk, who in the very, very end, all of a sudden, he's not. But
right,
they don't really. I think as someone who's read the book, you in your head, it's in there that he's not. And you're transposing things into the movie that aren't there. So if you're someone who's not familiar with the book and you haven't read it in a long time, the movie changes what it is, and you're like, why do I not like this guy? I loved him in the book. It's that kind of thing. So I think there's some fundamental issues there. Yeah. That's just me.
It's funny. I haven't even seen one review of it. I have no idea what.
Oh, they love it.
No, they don't. It's getting kind of.
No, they don't love it.
No, it's funny. I don't know if the rest of the geek. Let me say really. What do we care about? We care about the geek world mostly, right? I don't know about the regular mundanes or the reviewers. I have no idea because I saw it like on opening night and I saw it only with a couple of people, not like my vast number of friends not with the geeks. I saw it with non-geeks basically who liked it. So it's going to be interesting to see what the rest of the geek world thinks about this. It's
at 60%, Russ, on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not bad.
That's not bad. So you know what movie that everyone's going to like, though? I'll tell you right now. I saw it today. 4.
Okay, now be careful.
4.
Okay.
Okay, so do you remember? I'm not going to spoil anything.
Don't do it. Don't dare do it.
Do you remember the very beginning of Lord of the Rings when you first saw Fellowship of the Ring? The first 15 minutes of the film is that his Warhammer fantasy battles come to life.
Really?
Okay. The first 15 minutes of Thor is Warhammer 40,000 come to life.
Really?
It is awesome. Right down to the vortex grenades. It is freaking awesome.
Really?
And as a sci-fi miniature gamer, you're going to love it. Love it.
Okay.
Yes.
See, now the problem with that is you're costing yourself a player on Tuesday, because I do have all of a sudden my Tuesday night free, and I might have to go see that instead of playing games.
I know I'm overselling it now, and you're going to come back and go, it was man or whatever. It was good. It was good. I liked it a lot. Yes.
It is rated higher than Ender's Game on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, that's not a surprise.
No.
Yeah. No, I liked it a lot.
I'm very much looking forward to Thor.
And
too.
Loki, of course, as always, steals the show. But it was just really, really good.
Cool.
Yeah. So, also make sure when you see Thor, stay through the entire credits.
Of course.
Don't be fooled by the first early credit bit. Got to go all the way to the end. Big one in this one.
Shawarma.
There's
two shawarma
double
moments?
shawarma. Double shawarma in
I
this episode.
heard that there are two.
Double shawarma. So I like that one. So, Stephen, what else have you been watching or seeing?
The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I think did we actually talk about this on one of? Did past Steven talk about this? No,
maybe, but I think it's getting mixed reviews by the geekosphere. I think I kind of like it, but what do you guys?
I like it.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it. I think that some of the geekosphere are really looking for like the Avengers.
I guess
and it's not that, of course.
It's a little more like
general
X-Files.
terms.
Yeah.
In general terms, I'm liking it, and I'm liking the characters. Not some people are saying they don't like them. Certainly Coulson, I think, is fantastic. He's a great actor.
Coulson's awesome. Yeah,
he is awesome.
So I am. My overall opinion is quite positive. I'm sticking this one out for the long haul. I think this is one that's going to be just fun in general. Going forward, and they're going to tie it into silly little things like they've already mentioned. A hammer. Things like that. So they're gonna keep tying it into things from the rest of the Avengers world.
Oh yeah,
so
they have the cameo and everything. Yeah, it'll have more of that going on.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, me too.
The only thing I'll mention I'm looking forward to besides Thor that we just mentioned is Hobbit 2, which will be somewhere around about a month or so from now. While I didn't, the Hobbit movie number 1 is not the Lord of the Rings. It was not that. You just have to kind of say, well, I'm not going to get Lord of the Rings here, so I'm going to get something different. I did think it was entertaining, and I'm looking forward to that, for a Christmas release.
Yeah, there's a good trailer for The Hobbit 2 that I had not seen before in front of Thor, and it was really good. Got me excited for it. So
That's it.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I'll finish mine up, Craig, because I already did half.
Okay.
So have you guys watched Sleepy Hollow yet?
I have been watching Sleepy Hollow.
I'm digging Sleepy Hollow.
I am as well.
I've
not watched it, but I heard good things about it.
The only flaw in Sleepy Hollow is why doesn't Ichabod ever change his coat?
That's true. That's a very good point.
It works for me.
Although they addressed that, because at one point in the first 4 or 5 episodes, he was like, should I dress differently?
But it's like nobody literally wears the same. He's been wearing the same shirt, pants, and coat now.
Yes.
The entire series, which has at least been going on for a week or two.
Right.
So, it's like, but I just love everything about it. I like how he's from a different era and his stances are different. And, the whole like 7% tax on pastries. What is this? It was really, really good. So that was good. And then, books. So doing a lot of Audible listening. And Craig, how do people, if you want to get involved in Audible, how do they do it with our show?
Well, trust me, if you haven't done it yet, and I don't know why you wouldn't by now, we've been talking about it for so long, go to the D6 Generation, click on the Audible link, and go sign up for a free 30-day membership and a free credit. That will get you almost any book in the Audible catalog.
Yep.
And they all go for a minimum of $17 or $18, really. Mm-hmm. So you're getting $17 or $18 as a member. That's a member price. Normal people are paying $25 to $30. Okay, so minimum you're getting $17 worth of a really cool audiobook. And we have given you myriad. Oh, see how I did that there? Suggestions through the years as well. Really, there is no reason not to do it because. And do it exactly thinking what I thought. I thought, I'm going to do it, get the free credit, and then run. That's what I thought 2 years ago. Nice. And I'm still doing it to the point where every month I'm like, oh, come on, baby. Oh, come on, baby. I need my credit. And, so it's awesome. There's really, if you're going to listen to books on audiobooks, which if you've got any kind of a commute and you've got extra time after you finish listening to us, we're the only other thing more important than audiobooks, okay, then you've got to try this out.
Oh, for sure.
Really, really cool.
And I've been listening. So after I finished my big sci-fi kick there, I decided I wanted to keep up with my daughters are both voracious readers. And so they're into like, young adult novels now, blasting through all kinds of stuff. Like
Very nice.
They both blasted through the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
And so I have never read the Hunger Games book 3, and the second movie's coming out. So I'm like, well, I'm able to talk to them. So I just finished up Hunger Games book 3. And now I'm reading, I'm just finishing up now Divergent.
That's what all my students are saying.
Yes. Divergent is not the Hunger Games, but people are comparing it to the Hunger Games primarily because it's a dystopian future and there's a female protagonist. And it's dark future type stuff. But it was really well written. And it's a very young author, I think. She's at her first book, I think she's like 18, some really ridiculously young age, and great book. On par, I'd say, with the Hunger Games or Harry Potter, and not Harry Potter maybe, but Hunger Games maybe.
Yeah.
And then next, my youngest daughter just got into the Percy Jackson series, so now I got to read that. So I'm kind of blasting through these young. They're fun. They're easy reads or easy listens, and just blasting through those too. So
cool.
Audible's got such a great selection of books for your whole family to listen to.
They really do.
Road trips, whatever. So good stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
What about you, Craig?
Okay, so I'm going to fit HonorCon into other.
No, fair enough.
Because it wasn't really a gaming convention. It was a sci-fi convention / writers convention, so it was something like I'd never gone to before. And it was super exciting. First of all, it was the best organized con I've ever gone to.
Ooh, wow.
Bar none. It was not huge. There was only a couple hundred people there.
Wow.
But
that's a pretty big thing to say about them. That's really great.
I mean, it was everything was broken up in a 1 hour or 2 hour chunks, and there was a half hour between each scheduled group. So you could go and you could do your tactics 101, and then you'd have a half hour to wander around, look in the vendor hall or talk to people. Half the people are in uniform. As I actually said over the course of the weekend, there was a much higher rate of tree cat adoptions in this particular subset than in the normal books. But it was awesome from a fan of the Honor Harrington books perspective, but it was also awesome from a new writer's perspective, because Bain Books, which is David Weber's publisher, they were there in full force, and they were doing talks and panels. And the writers for them, there were other writers doing panels, and they were talking about how to plot a book and how to take your reader along for a ride. I mean, it was just awesome. So I went and did all kinds of different things. Fred Quiche, is a long time listener of the show, and he was my friendly face in the crowd. Because to be totally honest, I went in there. I knew Gina, David Weber's assistant, but she was one of the co-chairs of the whole thing, so I didn't see a lot of her. And I had met the Evergreen people, but that was it, other than David Weber himself. So I was wandering around, didn't know anybody. A lot of the Bu9 guys reached out to me. They were really nice. They actually offered to bring me into their book signing, because I had 2 copies of my book with me, both of which sold, by the way. So I sold out HonorCon. So that was all. And both people went to the signing. Of course, one of them was Fred, a longtime listener of the show, and one of them was one of the guys who was on the panel with me. But anyway, so that was cool. It was just really cool. The coolest thing, other than getting to meet David Weber face to face and sitting down and getting to talk with him, and meeting all the Evergreen people, was actually seeing the whole concept of what Evergreen wants to do. And it's basically, if you think about Star Wars or Star Trek and how they exist in every media space,
right?
There are novels, and there are video games, and there are movies, and there are comic books, and there are toys. This is basically what Evergreen wants to create artificially from the ground up.
Wow.
So what their concept is to build video games and to build comic books and to build up to 2015 or 2016 was the movie. And it was awesome. I've never gone to anything like this before. They were showing slideshows of the ship's designs that I was then told, like, I was sitting up front in the front row, and then I was told that I wasn't able to share any of that stuff. So sorry about that. But I did share it with Russ, so he knows how cool it looked.
Ooh, it was very cool.
The cool concepts of like the Warshawski sails and warp space and all this other cool stuff. And and the uniforms and plot. And I mean, it was just really, really cool all the way along. It was just awesome. It was just the geek inside me was lapping it up, but I was like totally alone. And so Fred was awesome. Fred reached out. Fred was there with BU9 helping with all of the technical and military stuff. And actually brought me out with Chris Weave, who I think is a name that you'll hear again in the near future. He was the toastmaster of the whole convention. And the three of us went out to dinner one night, and they both hate Ender's Game, the book. So that was a very intriguing conversation right there. So that it was really, really awesome, and it has a lot to do with Fred kind of reaching out and sort of being there for me and being sort of my social anchor. So I wanted to give a special shout out to him and all the cool people that I met along the way that I won't list. But anyway, so I had a blast. I got David Weber. I gave David Weber a copy of my book, which was awesome. Just a really cool feeling. I don't know whether he'll read it or not, but I gave it to him. But then I asked him to. I wanted to get the first David Weber book I ever got was called Mutineer's Moon, which is an awesome story about what if the moon, our moon, is not a moon, but it's actually a giant, enormous spaceship that got stranded here 50,000 years ago. And so that's the premise where the whole story goes off from there. And it's a trilogy, and they don't sell the individual books anymore because it's been around so long. There's an omnibus, so I got the omnibus, and I got David Weber signed it with something like really amazing, which was very, very cool. And then I started reading it. So that's what I'm reading. I'm reading a real book again, yay! Because I no offense, but that whole
digital thing,
alchemist thing. No, I can't even remember the author's name. It's just blew reading science fiction out of my head. It was so like I couldn't wrap my head around it. But anyway, but I'm loving Empire from the Ashes, which is the omnibus again. Just finished listening to The Heroes by Joe Abercrombie. I liked it. I know a lot of people don't. Well, it's not the same as the Blade itself, and it wasn't. It's true for obvious reasons to me. But Red Country, which I'm listening to now, is awesome, and I think the reasons are as obvious.
Great.
So Spartacus, we finally got Stars. We got rid of whatever Dexter was on, so I could watch
Spartacus for real now.
Watching Spartacus for real. And man, they just don't get any less bloody in that show.
That is a very gory and sexy show.
That is a gory, sex-filled show.
It is. And do you guys like it? I've never watched Spartacus. I've got to pick up a new one now that I'm about to finish Breaking Bad.
I'm enjoying it, but I'm not enjoying it like, this is awesome. Yeah, I'm enjoying it because you kind of have to take it on its own merit. Yeah. And
sex and blood. Okay, got it.
No, and the dialogue is very odd. Like they drop articles a lot, and it's just the writing is trying to make it seem like archaic, like they're speaking a different language almost, and so it's intriguing. I mean, it's usually not enough for me to get totally sucked in, but there's a lot of like fighting and really cool 300 level slow motion fight moments and stuff like that. And I only realized last night watching the first episode of the final season how many times you see the back of someone's head get stabbed, because it's so much easier to do the special effects, because half the special effects are digital. So they show you the Roman soldier and they show you from the front, and then they pivot to a view of him from behind, so you just see his helmet, and then somebody hits his face with something, but you don't ever see it. You just see the back of his helmet jerk, and then digital blood flies everywhere.
Yeah, it's got kind of that 300 look. It gets comic booky once in a while, like a
exactly.
Little bit.
Wow. And the action, the story does. Yeah, so it's
fun.
not
it's
like
fun. It's a fun show, but you got.
I like it a lot. I just I like it. I think despite weaknesses that I think might make other people not like it. So I don't want people to be like, "You said this was good." Like I'm saying, I think it's flawed, but I am really enjoying it.
There you go.
Ender's Game we already talked about, and all right, this may be a first, although I think I talked about getting 3 stars on everything that existed for Star Wars Angry Birds, but
yes.
I got to play the in process, I don't even know what any of the terms are called, but the Honor Harrington missile duel game for mobile devices that Evergreen is going to be putting out in February.
Did you like it?
It was a blast.
Oh, really?
It's very, very basic. So it's not like you're not maneuvering your ship. You're basically set at broadsides. Mm-hmm. But then what you're doing is you have to deal with, you've got like 6 or 7 different types of missiles, and they've got different kinds of missiles, and you've got your ECM, and you've got your counter missiles, and you've got your point defense. And so it's all just tapping. You've got to tap the zone when the enemy missiles enter the zone, while at the same time you're sending your missiles out against the enemy. And you can roll to intervene your wedge.
Oh, nice to get the impeller wedge.
Which is awesome. Nice. But like, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that it's not really Honor Harrington, because there's a limit to how long you can roll your wedge, and then it rolls back, and then it slowly recharges. And it's a game, and that's why they're doing all that, to make it like a fun game that people who don't know about Honor Harrington are going to be like, wow, that's awesome. Oh, I'm going to fire my, like bomb pumped laser bomb. Yeah, whoa, there we go. Oh, my ship killer. Oh, yeah. And it was a blast. I was just playing it because nice. I went to talk to the Evergreen people, and they were all in a meeting. So I was playing that until they showed
your game
up.
Then fine.
Exactly. Awesome. It was awesome. So that was a blast. So I loved Honor Con. It was a blast. I got all this other stuff cool done on, and then that's me. I'm all done.
Woo. Well, that is achievements. But Steven, before we end achievements here, since you are future Steven.
Yes. Future Steven is here to advise everyone.
Later in the show is past Steven. I think we should say goodbye to you now as future Steven.
Yes, that's
even
true.
though you're going to be in the show later.
Yeah, because that's past Steven.
I know it's very confusing, but past Steven won't understand that because
time travel really hurts my head.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So your past Steven will get the goodbye in the future, which is how it should be. So
right. Okay. Got it.
Right. So even though our listeners will be hearing the goodbye before they hear you more in the show. But anyway, so Steven, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And if someone wants to learn more about what you're up to and Stronghold Games is up to, what should they do?
Thank you very much for having me again, guys. I always appreciate it. Always love hanging out with you guys. To find out more about Stronghold Games, always hit the website, www.strongholdgames.com. You should follow us on Twitter at Stronghold Games. Also, Facebook page, Stronghold Games. And then finally, sign up for our newsletter. We don't send out very many, maybe once a month or so, and only when there are important things to discuss. And you can do that on the Stronghold Games webpage as well. Nice. So thank you so much again for having me on, guys. I look forward to spending some time with you, hopefully in person.
Absolutely.
In the relatively near future.
Sounds great.
Thanks for coming, Steven.
Thank you, Steven. And we'll be back after this break with past Steven to talk about Essen.
Yeah.
Yay.
You're listening to the D6 generation. Born to game.
That is a wolf. And that means it's time for us to talk about Lone Wolf development.
It is. Now, and very exciting times, Craig.
Yeah, it absolutely is, Russ. I mean, if there's one company that's just churning out the software to help you in your gaming, it's Lone Wolf. And this is a very exciting time to be a fan of Lone Wolf development.
It sure is. Realmworks, they were working really hard on it all summer, trying to get it perfect. There was a beta, but now it has been released for download to all backers of the Kickstarter project.
Nice.
So it's out there. You can get it. Get on it if you are a backer. Now, once it's fully gone through the backer process and everybody's had a chance to play with it and they refined it just a little further, it'll be ready to everybody else soon, too. And Realmworks is just a great example of the kind of quality software our friends at Lone Wolf Development put out. This thing is just the ultimate way to manage and track your campaign, which is awesome. Then don't forget, Craig, Army Builder.
Oh, Army Builder is that was my first love with Wolf's Lair.
Indeed, and now they've got the Army Builder roster viewer for your iPhone and your iPad. So you crank your roster out on your PC, get it all laid out, and then zing, it shows up right on your iPhone or your iPad, which is easy to do, which is great. Don't forget they've got a bunch of, and what's great is like people like you create all the great fan files for these applications. So they've got just about every miniature game ever made by man is available on Army Builder.
Way more than I've ever heard of, that's for sure.
Yes, indeed. And, some people use it to find out other cool miniature games. Like, look at the files for this. I'll check that out.
Yeah. Fairy Meat. Have you ever heard of Fairy Meat?
Actually,
they have.
I have it. Also, don't forget Hero Lab, the best way to create your RPG characters, and they've got such great Pathfinder integration. You would swear the app was by Pathfinder itself. Really, really great stuff. And they're also happy to point that Hero Lab now handles Windows 8.1 as well as OS Mavericks. So whether you're a Mac user or a Windows user, they've got you covered as well.
Yeah, they've really done a great job. That was their push, really, in 2013 to bring in all those Apple machines, and they've done a great job.
They have. So be sure to head on over to wolflayer.com and check out all their great software. And now, what's in the news? With the shout-out, after more than a year of playtesting, my solution for 3D movement in tabletop games is finally on Kickstarter. If you hate remembering how high a unit is or simply want more flexibility in your games, check out Gamer Grids. That's grids with a Z, because Z's always make it cooler. Anyway, and now, the news. Up first, head on over to the Fantasy Flight Games website if you want yet more previews and insights into the new reboot of Battlelore, Battlelore 2. This one's update talks about cool tactics and tips you can pull off in combat in the new system. And while you're over there on the Fantasy Flight Games website, you will not find Dust Warfare, no, because it has moved over to our friends at Battlefront Miniatures. They've just launched a new beta for upcoming Dust Tactics rules, so check that out over there. And if you're a mobile gamer, and who isn't nowadays, you will be happy to know that FTL, Faster Than Light, the game that Russ raved about on Steam not too long ago, oh, it's awesome, baby, is now available on the iPad. And while you are gaming on your iPad, you may also be excited to know that iOS version of Quarriors has also been announced. Very exciting. Oh, and speaking of digital gaming, well, it's no longer digital, actually. Exilis. Remember that whole game a couple years ago at Gen Con where it was plastic miniatures? And the miniatures actually quite cool, and they had a computer-driven combat system, so you'd get your plastic miniatures into a certain quadrant to fight the bad guy, your opponent, and then you'd both run some software either on an iPhone or a PC, and it would figure all the combat out. Never really took off. Kind of died. Well, it's back on Kickstarter now as just a pure miniature game, so if you always like the Exilis miniatures, you might want to check that out. Well, let's see. Oh, speaking of other hotness, how about The Dead of Winter from Plaid Hat Games? Yes, a zombie game from Plaid Hat, a zombie survival game, Dead of Winter. It's a psychologically intense meta-cooperative survival game designed by Isaac Vega, the man who brought you City of Remnants and BioShock Infinite. Sounds pretty exciting, so be sure to check that out. Also, the folks over at Tabletop, you know, the YouTube web series featuring Will Wheaton, just announced some numbers earlier in November of this month that Tabletop has demonstrated a phenomenon now known as the Tabletop Bump. That is, any games that appear on Tabletop have a whopping 79% increase in sales on average. Now, of course, some people have argued that, well, board games don't sell that much, so 79% increase is still huge. But still, anything that can generate 79% increased sales and revenue has got to be a good thing. It's exciting to see shows like that pushing the gaming industry forward. That's great. Also, for any video game console gamers out there, and despite rumors to the contrary, the reports of the death of the console industry is greatly exaggerated. Last week, of course, was the launch of the PS4, and this week, Wakeland can barely contain himself as he just received notification, Amazon shipped my Xbox One, baby! That's right, Wakeland's Xbox One is winging its way to his house as he speak, and we predict very little painting to be done over the next several weeks. Nope, gaming like crazy. And that's what's in the news. Now it's time to talk about our friends at Winged Hussar Publishing.
You bet.
Who are fine purveyors of books, but not just any books. Fantastical historical books. But also the books of the Wild West Exodus universe written by our own Craig Gallant.
That's right. And C.L. Werner as well. Don't forget him.
Good.
And yes, it's awesome. It's very exciting. You should be seeing book 2 anytime now. And of course, book 3 has actually been ready for a while. So you should be seeing all of those books coming out soon. But in addition to that, don't forget that they specialize in these awesome historical books. So fans of historical wargaming or history in general will find just all kinds of cool stuff, especially if you're looking at the Romans. My personal favorite, Stratagems, the Roman Strategy at War, which is a great book. You've got books through the histories, really.
Yeah. And so, if you want to get these things, go to wingedhussarpublishing.com and be sure to put in the code D6G for 15% off, and you will get fantastic books. And don't forget also, they have both hard copy versions as well as digital as well.
That's true. I mean, a lot of people, when my first book came out and sold out on Amazon, a lot of people were complaining, but you could always get it through the Winged Hussar website, and that's true of all of their books. Mm-hmm. So go on over there, get that discount, and pick up my book if you'd like. That'd be awesome. Or any of the historical books, and these are books that have uniform pictures. I mean, they've all kinds of really cool stuff in all these different historical books as well.
wingedhussarpublishing.com.
You're listening to the D6 generation. Born to gain.
Welcome back. Now we're really excited. Stephen, Mr. Buonocore here goes to. Now, how many Essens have you been to, Stephen? Now,
been going since 2010, so this will be the 2010, 11,
number 4,
the 4th year.
Number 4.
I'm counting on my fingers. Yes,
number
4th year consecutively. The Stronghold Games will be at International Spieltag. That's
right.
the actual name for Essen. We call it Essen because it's in Essen, Germany, but colloquially called the Spiel.
And Spieltag literally translated means play day, which is,
it's game days.
Right.
International game days.
Right. So this is pretty exciting because I think we spoke with Dan Yarrington of Game Salute briefly about Essen one time. And but I would love to talk to you in more detail about the event, how you get ready for it, and what compels a small operation, because, Stronghold Games is a mighty in spirit, but, kind of a small company, right?
Wow.
Why you guys...
Wow, that sounded like...
It's not an insult.
I think this is
mighty in spirit.
I think this is a little, leftover from,
Maybe a little.
That game.
I don't know.
Look, I wasn't going to bring it up.
He's dissing Stronghold.
No, I'm not dissing Stronghold. Look, all right, fair enough. Why a company of your caliber? There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. What are the appeals of Essen? What makes it exciting to go to? And then, if we have time, we'd also like to contrast it to a much smaller event like BGG Con. We'll see if we can squeeze that in too.
That's right.
Why not? So what's the scoop here on this whole Essen thing? Can you give us sort of the basics of it, Stephen?
I mean, Essen, or the Spiel, is the largest game convention in the world. Now, there are 800 last year, and about the same new game releases that are premiering at that show.
That is a lot of games.
That's new games. I mean, you could buy tens of thousands of different games there.
Wow.
I mean, I bring my whole catalog. But the number of brand new games that either cannot be bought anyplace else except there, or are just coming out, it numbers around 800, which is a staggering number.
That is crazy.
Tom Vassell, my arch gaming nemesis.
Yes, and member of the Dice Tower Network and host of the Dice Tower.
Absolutely.
Yes. A fine podcast, I might add.
He's a great podcast.
And a fine network.
It is a fine network. We happen to be members of this fine network.
Even if they will have us.
And we just to be clear, just to answer any questions, we are not required to kowtow to Tom because we are part of the network. We just really respect this show. And now Stephen is going to blast him. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yes. And now Stephen.
Seems like you're kissing the left-hand cheek there a little bit.
No, we're just getting ready for you. We're just setting you up here, Stephen. So go ahead.
No, I love Tom. Everybody who knows me and Tom knows I love Tom.
Right.
And we have a lovely, fun rivalry. How it ever even started, I don't even know. But anyway, Tom is of the opinion that Essen is not as important as Gen Con.
Really?
And yes, he has said that on the show, and he said it to me. In fact, he's gone as far as he used Chris Peterson of FFG, because Chris now believes that Gen Con actually has more attendees than Essen.
Really?
Because of the way they count the numbers.
Okay.
And maybe that's true or not. Essen is now at around 160,000 turnstiles. They count turnstiles.
Oh, yes.
Okay? That's the old turnstile thing versus actual.
Right. Turnstiles is not. So for those that are not in the know, right, the big debate is turnstiles is how many people enter the con each day, right?
Right.
So if Stephen goes on Friday, then he goes on Saturday, then he goes on Sunday, he's one person, but he counts as 3
successfully
turnstiles.
Cloned himself.
He's made himself. Now, this is kind of like impressions versus page views on the internet for all you geeks out there. So, Gen Con does tell turnstiles now. They didn't used to. But the more important number is really badges, right? How many badges did you sell? Because that's really how many unique individuals theoretically are coming to your con.
Mm-hmm. And apparently, I don't know. This could be true. Gen Con now sells more badges.
Right. That's the theory.
Now, and okay, whatever the case may be, that may be right. But here's the and I gotta also make a point. And so I guess is as much for my friends in Europe as all of the people here in North America. We need to think globally a little bit more. We need to be a little less U.S. centric about things. And just because we don't have the biggest doesn't mean anything's wrong with something else. I mean, I feel that we have to be the biggest, and so it's almost unfair that we're not understanding the importance of Essen.
But Stephen, at the same time, if we have the biggest, should we not tout it just so we make other people feel better about themselves? Really?
I just,
I mean, seriously.
Wow.
I mean, you're absolutely right. We're not, we shouldn't go out there and claim stuff we don't have. But if we've got it, I'm just saying.
Flaunt it. There you go.
I'm just going to take Tom's side on all this because he kind of whacked you both. So,
well, okay.
All right. So, getting back on track here. So, what
good
is
luck?
Well, yes. Well, what is this true significance of Essen? Really, what happens there is that all of the new releases converge on Essen. Very often, publishers such as Stronghold Games and many others who go to both conventions will bring in some of their games to Gen Con, sort of as a pre-release of the game. So I had Space Cadets Dice Duel at Gen Con, which we sold out of. It was a huge hit.
It was awesome.
Due in no small part to Russ and I buying our copies.
Right. I bought two.
Which is very nice.
They're small,
So I flew them in there, but the game was not released yet. I just got them in there just so I'd have them in time. I literally printed that week, shipped them in via air, great expense. We had them there so we can premiere it and get the buzz started.
Right.
But really, it is. Why is he laughing?
I don't know. You said buzz. I don't know what that means.
No, I just saw what happened down in the bullets where Russ is writing bullets and then Steven is writing editorial comments about the bullets. Why does a smallish company like Stronghold trek to Essen? Small! Sorry.
See?
Pay no attention to the giggling maniac behind the curtain. Continue.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, but what is he talking about?
Small only as compared to some. Which, goes back to the whole, if you got the largest flaunted thing.
You realize we're on radio here, so no one's seeing what you're looking at. So I don't know if it's gonna play well.
I just described it.
Okay,
right.
All right. So since you get some of your releases, a handful of games out at Gen Con, what really ends up happening is that all of the other major releases, that one, Space Cadets Dice Duel, is just going to be releasing now, plus all of my other releases, Space Sheep, Going, Gone,
right.
Rogue Agent, the Voluspa expansion. I have 5 new releases, and they're all converging on Essen.
What you're basically saying is one advantage Essen has is because it occurs later in the year, even though it's not much later, it's only a month and a half or 2 months, I guess, later than Gen Con. That's the difference between getting only a very limited number of advanced copies available at someplace like Gen Con versus actually having production run availability at Essen. So you're actually not so much getting early releases at Essen, although you might be, but there's actually going to be tons of volume there, and you're going to be able to get pretty much whatever game you want. If the manufacturer's able to bring it, they're bringing tons. We're
going to be bringing in tons, in quotes, of games, as many as we can. In fact, something that I didn't write on the show notes here, but a lot of what publishers often do, especially the European ones, is that they print the games in Europe so that they basically come off the line and they get sent right to the floor.
So there's no real shipping costs.
There's no shipping costs. So I print specifically every year the games that I need to have at Essen that I'm doing on my own. I end up doing them at Ludofact Germany, the highest quality, largest printer in the world of board games, and they come off the line. Space Sheep and Going, Gone were literally boxed up on Monday this week.
Yeah.
That's when they were done, and I got they're now in the container, about to get onto the ship to come here, and also they're ready to be put onto the show floor next week at Essen.
Yeah.
Yes, by the way, we're recording the week before Essen, this part of the show, and then the next part of the show we're going to be recording.
Well, this is going to be awesome because in a cheap. So there's a little, as long-time listeners of our show may know, there's a little space-time continuum action that happens where parts of our segments of our show are recorded out of sequence. So the kind of cool thing about this is, as Stephen tells us about Essen now, this is in advance of Essen. We do achievements in gaming, which is already aired. You've already heard in the show. When you heard achievements in gaming earlier, the interesting thing was Stephen had already been to Gen Con, Essen, and had told us what he did there. So now we've gone back in time to before Essen.
So that was like future Steven.
We've gotten in our TARDIS.
It's going to be past Steven.
Yes.
And then we're going to have this
right. So there'll be 3 Stevens by the end of the show. There'll be present Steven, past Steven, and future Steven.
Yes.
Which is
Steven, would
more.
you like to tell future Steven anything?
Yeah.
Don't go on the D6G.
Bad things will happen.
Bad things happen to you.
So this is great because the past Steven telling the future Steven something, it doesn't really help you. You need the future Steven telling the past Steven something.
That's right. That's right.
That's
I don't know what I'm doing.
Don't drink the beer from that one boot.
Don't drink.
So, all right. So now let me ask you this. So it sounds like, and I remember when Dan told us about this, he also mentioned that, GameStop and other companies sometimes will try to also get the print runs done right there in Germany because you avoid that shipping. Now, Fantasy Flight is ginormous, and you brought them up earlier. They're ginormous at Gen Con, but you said Chris Peterson is sort of more of a Gen Con believer. Does FFG still show up at Essen?
Chris is there.
Yeah.
Chris is there. They throw a great party that I go to every year.
Do they have beer and boots?
They have beer in you know what? They actually do.
They do because you're in Germany. They're in boots. It's just a thing.
But Chris Peterson is there. Fantasy Flight. Basically, what they do, they don't have an actual presence themselves. Mm-hmm. What they do is they support the largest, second largest distributor, their main distributor in Germany, Heidelberger Spiele.
Okay.
And they support them by bringing in games and running parts of it and some tournaments, I think. So they're there to help them out to sell the games that have come out, either just come out or the rest of the entire catalog. Yeah. So FFG basically owns Gen Con. I mean them and Mayfair. I mean, they take huge footprints there.
Half the floor.
And I mean, I know this for a fact that the entire Fantasy Flight company gets on buses from Minnesota, and they all bus everybody over, and they just basically take the entire company and run the booth at Gen Con, which is an enormous feat. It's fortunate that they can do that and they can drive 50 people there. I mean, it's not the entire company, but it's certainly a huge number of them. And that's where they make their big push for both sales and their new releases. So they're timing everything for that. Other companies that don't have that kind of logistics so local to a major convention in the U.S. will use Gen Con as part of their release, and part of their buzz, and then Essen will be as big, if not bigger, and certainly the Stronghold Games.
Let me ask you this because this is sort of an interesting thing. Fantasy Flight Games is arguably a Ameritrash, to use a label I don't really like, but if you look at the two more predominantly sort of segments of board games that us board game people talk about, there's Euros and there's Ameritrash, right? Fantasy Flight's primarily Ameritrash. I mean, they got some Euros floating around now, but they're mostly American-style board games.
Yep.
Other companies, like Mayfair and Queen and others, are more Euro and Days of Wonder. You guys are sort of in the middle. You have some on both sides, but do you find that you have certain games that sell much better in Germany or in Europe than they do in the U.S.? Or can you see that kind of thing?
The fact is that, the people say that, Europe, they want to play, streamlined Euro games, and Americans want to play these, conflict and American games. There really is a very big crossover between the two. Certainly in predominance, yes, the Euro games are sold more there. But for me, being there, anybody who wants a Stronghold Games product is going to flock over to my booth to get it there at a better price than they can get it locally, actually. which is a very big selling point. It's actually something that I was going to bring up in a minute. And that's one of the reasons why we end up doing so well there, is because we have a big following there. I mean, every publisher has some clout behind them, has a nice following in various sections of the world, and they're going to be coming there because it's hard to get American games, American publishers' games in Europe, harder to get them. And similar in some regards for the smaller European publishers, they don't have as big distribution in the U.S. It's harder for their games to get to be, received over here. So I actually came up with this fairly recently, where I said to myself, why am I selling? There's a lot of reasons why I sell so well when I'm at Essen. But one of the reasons is, I have figured this out after being there for 4 years, is that the Europeans are trying to get a hold of my current games and my past catalog, because it's not as easy to get them in Europe. I have worldwide distribution, but of course, as always, not every distributor and not every retailer is going to carry everybody at the same time. And when they're out of stock, they may not reorder because they want not reorder one copy of the game or something like that.
Got it.
So it's a long and circuitous answer to your question.
No, I get it. So one of the benefits you're offering, it's kind of like, it's sort of like if you look at Gen Con for Fantasy Flight, there's not a lot of stores you go into and they carry every single Fantasy Flight product. And so here's someone who's a fan of Stronghold games. They go in to Essen and there's every single Stronghold product.
That's absolutely right.
And it's like, that's awesome. I need all three of those, and I want all the expansions, and I want that. And I want all three versions of Revolver or whatever. And so that's really cool. So how did you? So you can tell today, after doing this for 4 years, but what made you wake up back in 2010 and be like, yes, this year I'm going to just bite the bullet, spend a ton of money, and go to Essen, and maybe I'll sell something?
It really becomes a matter of, and back in 2010, we were nobody. We had just appeared on your show for the first time. It was like,
I remember that.
Now we hit the big time. We're on the D6 generation before you even on the Dice Tower Network.
See, flattery is,
You were my second podcast appearance, and literally it was like, within a week of being on Eric Burgess's show. I don't think he's podcasting at the moment. But when you look at where you need to do your marketing and where you need to create your buzz, you simply cannot underestimate the importance of being at the major shows. Even at some of the sometimes at let's take Origins. Origins is certainly a major show, but it's not necessarily, unless you have some really new things and some good buzz. You don't necessarily make a ton of money at Origins. I do okay, not a problem. But you don't make a ton of money there. You might break even there.
Right.
But you want to be at all of these shows. You want to be at Origins, and you want to be at Gen Con, and you absolutely want to be at Essen, because what you're doing is you're spreading the word of your company. And you have to think about every show that you go to, and this is a very general point for any publisher. You have to think of every appearance that you make as marketing dollars spent. If you happen to make money in sales, you've done even better. But the fact of the matter is, the fact that you're there and you're meeting the fans, pressing the flesh, selling some games, playing games with people, showing them a good time, that is a marketing opportunity. So we decided back in 2010 that we needed to be there because we want to be a contender. So we got out and did the first show with a small booth, 20 square meters. It's like 200 or so square feet.
Yeah.
Out in Hall 9, one of the outer halls. And this year in Essen, we're up to 64 square meters. It's more than double the size that I had last year.
Wow.
For dumb Americans, I had to calculate this before the show too. I had to get my calculator and figure out what the hell that is in square feet. It's approximately 700 square feet.
Now that's quite a bit bigger than your Gen Con booth, isn't it?
Oh, it's much bigger. Tremendous.
So that's really fascinating for me. So you are really putting your money where your mouth is. You're saying, is Essen more affordable, or is it like, no, I just sell so much more product at Essen, it makes more sense for me to have a stronger footprint?
Absolutely both. The answer is both. It is a much, not that it's cheap, and certainly, airfare And the
Right.
hotels are very expensive, actually, more expensive. Depending on where you go in Essen, the hotels can be very expensive. We stay at the connecting hotel because it's convenient. You need to be convenient, and so it's more expensive than hotels at Gen Con. For instance, the square footage there is cheaper, and you do sell more. So we really step up the presence at Essen, and most publishers do, because of the fact that you can sell more and be in a place that you're not normally, and therefore meet the gamers, as well as, we haven't talked about this yet, like what is it, what do we do there, besides selling and playing? We are able to meet with people, designers and other publishers who we wouldn't otherwise not have contact with, right? I don't have contact with the designers really in Europe, and I don't have contact with all of the publishers out there. So we have meeting areas that we, in our booth, that we can sit down and talk to them about future cooperations, about new designs for games.
So you're doing more than just. I mean, I'm sure this happens at Gen Con too. I know, but here at Essen in particular, you're getting the people that Is this really the only European convention you guys go to?
It is.
So this is your only chance. Whereas in the U.S., you said you go to Origins, you go to Gen Con, you go to Board Game Geek Con. So there's places you can go, multiple events where a U.S. game designer might be able to hunt you down. But here in Essen, it's your one window to really be able to sit down with European designers, maybe some partnerships with European publishers, and things like that.
That's 100% right. This is our chance to be in front of those people. And in preparation for this, I got my list of meetings that I have.
Yeah.
Which I've actually been working on like crazy, over the last few days, making sure that I had everything set up. I literally have a meeting scheduled very close to every hour on the hour.
Wow.
From Wednesday, which it's not even open yet, the convention. Wednesday through Sunday, close. From the beginning.
Oh, so you're not even selling product; you're just sitting there meeting people all 4 days there.
Sometimes the meetings, last 5 and 10 minutes.
Right.
Very often they last, much longer, a half hour. If I normally do man the sales area so that I can, be taking the money and greeting people and stuff like that, where I have my demo guys running the demo area. But when I, when I go into the meeting area, which is right next to the sales area, but it's a nice substantial size now in Essen. I just get another guy and he takes care of that for me. It really is about making sure that you're going to make relationships while you're out there. Yep. Since you're not going to have that ability again for another year, you can talk to them in email, maybe on a Skype call, but you're not going to have the ability to sit down again face to face, look someone in the eye and say, hey, why don't we publish that next game in North America for you, European publisher who, who do not have the reach into the United States that I have, of course. And maybe when I do a game, you can publish it in Europe for me. Cool.
I want to ask you this too. We talked a little bit with Colin from Lone Wolf last time, or a couple episodes ago, about demoing and how you have to hook gamers, and there's different ways to do that. And I was really curious if, since you are demoing and trying to hook people on your products in both the US and the EU, do you find is the demo process or the way you get people hooked in your games, is it different in Europe? Are they looking for different things, or is it pretty much a gamer's a gamer the world around?
A game is a game a world around, and which is really cool is that English is the international language, not only period, but it's the international language of gamers as well, which is great. Everybody who goes to Essen knows English. So, one of the things that I have to do, when we go 6,000 miles away to put a footprint out there in Essen, is I've got to get a bunch of people who I can trust, who can show everybody who comes to my booth a good time. Make sure they're energetic, they're fun, they're friendly. They'll engage people, explain the games, and have them play those games. So it's all about making sure people having a good time, and just making sure that you're explaining that game, in a way that's going to be inviting and make them happy while they're having the time with Stronghold Games.
Now, another thing I wanted to ask you is, I think Dan touched on this on the show too, but I just want to reiterate this point, is that unlike Gen Con, which in addition to this large vendor hall, and there's also bunches of gaming to do in terms of, like, there's a bunch of pre-created events, there's True Dungeon, there's There's a bunch of RPGs set up. There's a bunch of board game events set up. Is Essen like that too, or is Essen pretty much a giant vendor hall?
That is the single biggest difference between Gen Con and the cons that most of your listeners, most of your North American listeners know. Essen is an exhibit hall, but an exhibit hall of proportions that you could not fathom unless you've been there. It's that big and that expansive. Now, most people here, some of the people here have been to Gen Con, and Gen Con's exhibit hall is tremendous. It's really, really big. Before this year, the convention center in general it's split up in its halls 1 through 12. That's the way it's laid out.
Okay.
The Messe Essen, that's what it's called, the convention center there. And the spiel was from hall 4 through 12, and they're not all the same size. In fact, hall 1 is almost as big as all those halls put together. It's a very strange layout. So all of the spiel was from hall 4 through 12. 10, 11, and 12, those 3 halls are the halls for the big boys, the big guys. Guess who's in that hall too? Amazingly enough. Yes.
You guys are in there. Nice.
Don't even, you know what? I know low people in high places.
So who are your neighbors this year? Just give us just give us a feel of your neighborhood. Who's on your left? Who's on your right? Who's across the hall from you?
My neighborhood is I haven't looked at everybody because we have reorganized the neighborhood because they moved. I was going to get to that in a second, but my general neighborhood is Cosmos, which is a major European publisher. Yeah. Many games that have been brought over here, and Days of Wonder.
Oh, okay,
so those are the two big guys that are like right around me.
So you're chillaxing with the big boys. You're in the fine rent district.
We're in the fine rent district.
Right.
So where I was going with this is that halls 10, 11, and 12 are the main halls of the spiel. They have been for years until this year where they're just redoing the halls, so they're moving them. But that amount of space approximately is the entire exhibitor hall at Gen Con.
Wow.
But at Essen, you also have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 as well. So you can see that the scale of the number of exhibitors and the number of everything is so big. But as Russ, as you were saying, it really is one thing. The whole convention is based around the exhibitor hall.
That's awesome.
As somebody, Craig, you walk into the place.
Yep.
You all that you have to do there is find a game to play, or
that would be my dream. That's all I want to do at Gen Con, but they keep throwing other stuff in my face.
You can't go play True Dungeon. You can't go to a panel where you listen to jerks like us talk about things. We had a great time at Gen Con on panels together.
Yeah, we did.
But none of that. So you walk in and you say, you know what? Hopefully they say, I gotta go visit Stronghold Games because I gotta go pick up some of their new releases. So they go over to Stronghold Games booth. Maybe they buy stuff. Maybe they say, let me play this stuff first. They sit down. They play games. We have last year we were running 5 tables. This year we're running 8 tables of games. I think maybe more. We're running tables the entire time. And then when they're done, they come over and then they can purchase their games. And then they say, you know what? Okay, Stronghold. I'm going to go over. I'm going to hang out at Cosmos for a little while. And they walk over there and they go and they play games and buy games over there. That is what it is. It's like Christmas time in Europe. It's in October in Germany. Oktoberfest,
right.
It's actually not when they celebrate Oktoberfest.
No.
Do you know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
Which is very funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
But it's Christmas time in Germany. They absolutely show up to go crazy buying games and, of course, playing all the games that they want to play as well. So that is what the entire convention is about. The convention runs longer every day than it does at any U.S. convention. It opens at 10. That's a normal time for the exhibitor hall. It runs till 7 p.m. every night.
Wow.
My God, I am tired by the time it's over.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's till 7 o'clock. Everything gets done later there. And that even includes Sunday when they run till only 6 o'clock. And at the U.S. cons, they stop at 4 o'clock on Sunday.
Wow.
So Yeah, and then, and then on Sunday, you get that 1 hour, and then you got to pack up for 3 hours before you can eat dinner. So it's absolutely insane.
Sounds insane.
Yeah, it really is. So that's what a gamer, your average gamer would do. They would simply pick who do they want to go see. Sometime and on Thursday's the big day because it's the first day, so all the real hardcore
the
games.
hotness too. Is there supply issues even though it's later in the year? Are there still like sellout games that people rush to the booths and there are lines there, kind of like there's a Gen Con, or is it more laid back than that, or is there simply enough supply that doesn't really become an issue?
No, there's definitely supply issues, and it simply depends on the publisher and of course where they're getting the games from. You need to. If you're a hardcore gamer and you absolutely want a game, you got to do the same thing. Now, as I mentioned before, for the games that I produce, that I publish myself, I'm not co-publishing with someone else as the primary, and I'm doing the co-publishing secondary.
Right.
I'm doing them in Germany, so my supply there is a little more quote unquote unlimited, but it's never unlimited, right?
Right.
It just can't be by definition.
Sure.
So for Space Ghost Dice Duel, Space Sheep, Going Gone. Those games are printed right now in Germany, so my supply is high, very high.
See how many times he's managed to mention his new game titles in the episode? Craig?
He's a
professional,
marketing genius.
Clearly a professional.
Thank you.
No. They're not
You're
picking.
too kind. You're too kind.
I'm just admiring your skill, sir.
I try to slip it in.
So that's awesome. So what kind of epic preparation does it take for you guys? Clearly now a large, energizing force in the gaming industry. But how does it take someone like Stronghold Games? How much work does it take to get ready for a con? What do you guys got to do? How early do you start prepping for this?
Yeah, Essen is really unique and special, and for a number of reasons, and not least of which is the fact that it's 6,000 miles away, or whatever it is to Germany. That's where the issues sort of start. But I almost start planning the moment that I leave, because I book the hotel upon my departure.
Is it that crazy? Like if you don't book the day you leave, you won't get a room? Is it that crazy?
If I don't book within the next month or so, certainly before the end of the year, I won't get the room I want to get. You can get rooms. Essen, it's a very, it's a lot like Indianapolis. It's extraordinarily accommodating to this fair because it's so big. But there are less hotels that are close. It's sort of number one, and the truly closest one is the one where almost a lot of the exhibitors stay. And while it's very expensive, that convenience, since it's a business expense, you want to be there. So I will book that hotel immediately, basically immediately. That's sort of like, problem number one. Problem number two is, what am I going to be releasing next year? I have to kind of time.
Right.
As we've had this whole discussion here about releases and how important releases are and how important those buzz is around these things. What am I going to release next year? And I have to kind of be thinking about that now. I've been thinking about that for months even before this. What am I going to release next? What am I going to ensure that is going to make it worth my while to be there? So I'm thinking about how I'm going to time that, when I'm going to begin, finish development on the game, time the artwork, get the production ready, all those things, just to make sure I'm going to have those hot releases, possibly sprinkled at Gen Con and definitely in full force at Essen. Other, huge to-dos are, the booth selection. Very early in the year, the convention organizers start coming to you and saying, okay, do you want the same booth as you did last year? And most of the times you say either yes, and you can get that, or you say, well, I want to upscale or downscale. Obviously, I've been upscaling year over year. And I implied this a little while ago, is that this year in Essen, they completely redid the hall structure. So instead of us being in halls 4 through 12, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's where we were over all the years it's ever been in this convention center. Now, we are going to be, all of that space is now in hall 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't mean we have less space. That's how big those halls are. So they had to this has been a crazy year because now it's okay, now I don't even know where I am anymore. I haven't even printed out the floor. I saw the floor plans for my little area with my local neighbors that I mentioned, but I don't really know how that's going to play out in Hall 3, much less Hall 2 and Hall 1, which are huge and big and behind me, and how that's all going to play out. This is going to be a very weird and interesting year. In fact, everybody who's been going for years and years is going to be walking in where do I go?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the traffic patterns change, or if they are affected by that whole.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody in the same hall kind of thing.
We're still in that big, nice, great neighborhood with the great neighbors around us. Booth neighbors, that is. But everything is going to be a little bit strange this year, and that literally includes for us exhibitors as well as people walking in. They're all. Every year, almost every year, when you want to go to a specific publisher, they're in that same place every year. It's really nice. You don't see that quite as much, certainly not with the smaller publishers. At Gen Con Origins, they kind of move around a little bit, but at Essen, you get a really nice place and you stay in that place. So this year, I wanted to upgrade again. I wanted to get a little bit more room, and when I contacted them, I said, I'd like a little more room, and I saw this little space here that's not usually occupied, so I'll take that space. And then they got back and they said, well, we're moving the whole thing. We're shifting over. and instead of the 30 square meters that you had last year, and you wanted a little bit more, Stephen, we got this 64 square meter area that we have, that's got that same great neighborhood and stuff like that. Do you want that? And I looked at it and said, oh my God, price. Well, you know what? I'm going to do it because A, I sell very well there, and B, you want to put up or shut up, so to speak. You want to show that yes, I can play with those people. I can play in the same area with the big boys. And I want to make sure that the convention organizers know that when they do things like this, that I have the capital behind me, that I can be there, and support the show and support the booth neighborhood that I want to be in. So
that's awesome.
It's a good thing. Yep.
And now, earlier in this show, people who already have known if that was a wise investment or not. Because we'll ask.
That's right, because we'll be talking about it then.
Right, we'll talk about how it went before this bet, which is even better. So here we see that Stephen was playing a well-planned bet that going a little large will be a good thing. So tune in already to find out what happened.
Tune into your own memory.
Right. Just rewind about an hour and you'll figure that out. So sounds awesome. So you're going to be demoing, selling, doing all your meetings, and enjoying frosty beverages. Or warm beverages, I guess, right?
Enjoying no. In Germany,
they chill them, and in England they don't, right? That's the thing.
Germany they drink their lagers at refrigerated temperatures, a little bit warmer in the UK, but it's a very big selling, demoing, and meeting opportunity for everybody. And I implied before that there are a couple of parties here and there that industry people can attend, but really even those things are basically industry events as well. So you're really just trying to be on the whole time and entertaining and warm for everybody around you, so that you can continue to make great relationships with not only the gamers but with the publishers that are out there as well for
awesome
future cooperations.
Awesome. So we're running a little long on time, but I do want to get some brief feedback on. We mentioned BGG Con, so we should talk about it. And we haven't had a lot of folks on the show who are able to give us more information about it. Everybody who I know who have been there have all said unequivocally it is a fantastic convention, one of the best they've ever been to, and it's definitely a must-go for board gaming folks. What are your feelings on BGG Con?
Yeah, BGG Con, I'll try to be brief. It's hard for me to talk very small amounts of
That's okay. You're doing
passionate.
fine.
But no, BGG Con really truly is it's only 4 weeks after Essen, so actually logistically it's a little bit painful.
And it's in Texas, right?
And it's in Dallas, Texas, which is the headquarters of Board Game Geek.
Right.
So
Sipping around the world.
You're just the jet setter, right?
And it is very much like, I can't say like Essen, because it's 2,000 people versus
gajillions,
right. Bajillions in Essen, and even a Gen Con in Origins is a much smaller convention. But it has all of the latest releases are there. So not only does Stronghold, of course, bring all of our latest releases and sell them to all the people who want them first before they can get them anywhere else, basically. Board Game Geek has got great, since they're also in Essen and they also have a booth and they also have this like live video feed, which I hope everybody will be watching me on BGG TV live or taped from Essen. It's always a lot of fun when we do that. They have relationships with all the publishers, and they bring back with them all of the new releases for all the games from Essen. And of course, not all 800, but several hundred of those games they bring back. So all of the major releases, anything that you really can think of, any big buzz game, they're going to have first showing off at BGG in the extremely extensive and arguably the largest active board game library in the world. They have them all there for you to play.
Now, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is kind of like we just mentioned that Essen is really, or it is, but it is this massive vendor hall, and it's all about going from vendor and sampling their wares and buying what you like. Board Game Geek is almost like the board game room you find at Origins at Gen Con, but the entire con is essentially the board game room with a vendor hall supporting it. Is that about right?
That's a very, very good analogy. Think of it as the Origins board game room, because it has now think of it like that, many times bigger, because everybody can sit, which is kind of cool. Almost everybody can sit at the same time in the main ballroom at BGG Con playing games. There's several smaller rooms too, but everybody can sit there. They can check out games from the Board Game Geek library, bring them in, and play them. And like everything's available, and everyone's sitting together and playing together. So yes, it's like the boardroom at Origins, but on a much larger scale with every game you can possibly want at your fingertips.
Well, and that's the cool thing about it, because like in addition to whereas Essen at Gen Con, it's like new hotness. There's of course new hotness at BGG Con as you just mentioned, but also hard to find and possibly rare games are in the collection.
That's right.
Right. So you can, if you've always wanted to play that game from 1976, they probably got it in their collection.
They absolutely probably have that. They have, very rare things in their collection. Right. All you have to do to check out a game is scan your badge, scan the game, and they give it to you, and you go. So there's almost no limit to what you are allowed to do. And I really have to say this, and I'm not kissing butt here for my very, very good friends. I mean, I Aldi and Chad, the admins there, they're all really good friends of mine. It is by far the best run convention that I go to in the year. Period. Full stop. It's that good. I so highly recommend that your listeners, even if they're not in the U.S., but certainly in the U.S., you should make it a point that at some time you go to BGG Con. It is a wonderful. It's almost like having a small con with everything at your fingertips. It's something there's everybody is gaming together. If you want to play Euros, you got Euro people playing Euros. You want to play American style games, you got people doing that. Right. In the social aspects, like in the evening, everyone goes out to dinners together. There's a real at the bar in the hotel. We have a little like beer club there that we all go out and we kind of close the bar down, which is not hard because it closes at like midnight, very very early. So we have a couple of drinks together and then we go back and game. So it's just a friendly, fun, and extremely well run convention, and I just can't talk about it any more highly. And guess what? It happens to be my second most profitable convention as well, because those 2,000, 2,100, or 2,200 people that go to BGG Con, they all want the latest hotness, and they're all alpha gamers that have come just to do this and have planned a year around this. And I'm there as one of not that many exhibitors. The exhibit hall is quite small there. And I'm an Ultimate Geek sponsor of the show, one of only about 4 or 5. So I've, we really, this is the second year in a row we've stepped it up to sponsor BGG Con in a really big way. I'm really proud of that, and it's a lot of fun doing it.
Well, that's awesome, Steve. So that sounds really cool too. Now you really got me wanting to go to
I really recommend you guys.
Essen is more travel prohibitive, but BGG Con sounds really interesting to me too, especially the idea of just chillaxing and not feeling like you have a vendor hall you can't possibly see, but rather you check the vendor hall out for half a day, and the rest of your weekend is just sitting down and playing games.
That's exactly what you do.
That sounds awesome.
And it is a real chillaxing kind of convention.
Love it.
Exactly why I would do it.
Love it. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for all the detailed, insightful information.
Glad to have been able to do this in past Stephen, who will be later,
right, future Stephen.
Future Stephen. Future Stephen was a lot less energetic.
He was. He sounded very tired, like he'd been to this con with 80,000. Yeah, it was.
And as if he was looking forward to another one right around the corner.
Right.
That's
To be honest, I felt we weren't getting Future Stephen's full attention.
No, he was very distracted too.
Yeah.
This is your chance to change the future, Stephen. Don't be distracted and tired.
That's
all right.
right. Do
change
not think
the future.
Nothing is set in stone, Stephen.
Right.
I will be there for you.
The future is fluid.
The future is fluid.
That's right. We know that from science fiction, right?
We do.
You can be awake.
All right. Thanks again, Stephen, for all the details.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
After our game reviews, you'll feel like you played the game 100 times. After our interviews, you'll feel like you've known some of the biggest names in the gaming industry for years. After a single episode, you'll feel like the time just flew by. And once the headache clears, you'll know you'll never need another gaming podcast again.
The D6 generation, born to game.
And now it's time for us to talk about our friends, the masters of the thematic game over at Conquistador.
Yeah, we've been talking about Tomorrow for a while, and it's out now. You can find it in stores. Yeah. And our friend Jeremy had pre-ordered. He was very excited. Of course, we have our own copy, and he set it all up in the store. Wanted to play big game last Tuesday, and it was awesome to see the game in action. Components are fantastic. He really liked the map. He liked all the bits, and then a great time. It's got some really interesting mechanics, and the theme is just again.
It's brutal.
You're a war leader. You got to deal with population control. What are you going to do? Kill a few people off. Whatever it takes. Whatever methodology is required. It's for the greater good, Craig.
And best case scenario is there are people that belong to other people. Really,
It is. Yeah, they're not your people. I mean, they're your people, but not your real people.
Right.
So yeah, it's very, very, very cool to check it out, and it's just fantastic. It's about $60, and you get the $15 extra for the really cool deluxe wooden pieces, like the tank meeple. Come on, tank meeple! How can you go wrong? Very, very cool stuff. So head on over to cqgames.com. Check out other great games. Don't forget the New Science too, which everybody I play that with just falls in love with it. A great game as well. Also, a great game for teachers. If you're a teacher, especially science, thus the name, you definitely want to check out the New Science as well. That's cqgames.com.
Conquistador Games.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, total fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. Hey everyone, this is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakelin and check out my blog, TotalFangirl.com. This week's shout out. Check out World of Grey, a Hellhound story by independent author and fellow gamer R.K. Athy. Find the ebook at Amazon and Smashwords.com. This time I actually have a guest that you have heard on the show, but it has been a few years, actually, since I've had her on. I have Alanka Doonan, who is with Simutronics, and they do all sorts of crazy gaming stuff. And right now they have an awesome Kickstarter that she's going to be talking about. Alanka, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm glad to be back.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I know we got all confused, that whole time zone changing thing. And you're in my past.
What are those? Yeah.
Yeah, you're in my past. I'm in your future. Yeah, but I'm glad we managed to get it all together.
Well, I'll be in your time zone in a couple weeks, and so then we'll all kind of get caught up.
We'll all be caught up? Okay. Everything will line up perfectly. So, Alanka, tell everyone about Simutronics and about the Kickstarter that you have running right now.
Oh, sure. Okay, so Simutronics, we've been making games for over 20 years now, and we have games on the internet, we have games on iPhone, on Android, we've done a game on Facebook, and our next game is Dragons of Alanthea, and this is a full 3D aerial flight simulator with 2 teams of dragons that are basically competing in a sort of a capture the flag game style. And it's something where we've got a basic running version of the game right now, but we want to do this big launch. And so we need some extra funding to handle the infrastructure and have the reach of the game into all the different parts of the world we want to. And so we're running a Kickstarter right now. And anyone who wants information can go to dragonsofalanthea.com. The Kickstarter has been running for a couple weeks now. We're right around the midpoint. I think when this show airs, we're going to have about, 7 to 10 days to go. But we really appreciate everyone that's already pledged and is helping to back our project. And we appreciate any of your listeners who'd like to come in and help out as well. And we do have various rewards for people that are backing us. For example, if you have any of your listeners that are already players of one of our other games, One Epic Night, on the iPhone and Android, we're matching. So for every $1 that they pledge to help Dragons of Valanthea, they'll get double coins in One Epic Night, so they can use that for one of their other games. We also have some tie-ins with our other text-based games, Gemstone and Dragon Realms, and there are rewards that are involved with Dragons of Valanthea itself. Of course, you get rewards in playing the game, or for the higher levels, will allow you to call in, be a participant in a game design call. We can design a special monument in one of the levels, so anytime the dragons go flying by, they'll see your name right there in the level. Nice. And of course, we'll be thanking people in the credits and invitations to the launch party, and basically anything you can think of. If someone says, well, hey, I'll pledge, but this is what I want to pledge, talk to us. There's a good chance that we'll say, okay, we'll make it happen.
So there's a chance somebody could have some crazy idea for something they want to see in game. Like you said, there's a monument. Hey, I'll do this. If you do this monument or do this statue or do this crazy thing, I'll pledge. You might say yes.
Absolutely, because we see our backers as really participants in the process. They're sort of co-owners of what's going on, and so if they have design ideas or any kind of feedback, even how we're promoting things, we're also trying to get the game on Steam. So we're over in the Steam Greenlight process. So even if someone doesn't want to pledge money, if they just go over to Steam Greenlight, if they have a Steam account and just vote yes. We're also doing some things on Steam Gifts. We're offering a copy of Call of Duty Ghosts over there. And again, it's just kind of our way of giving back to the community. And just go in, and if you've got points on Steam Gifts, go ahead and enter, and you may get a free game out of it.
Now, how did you guys come up with the idea for this game? What was the sort of creative process behind this?
Well, it really all comes from our CEO, David Watley. And he was playing with different game design styles about a year ago and wanted to do this idea of a dragon flying around. He loves the Unity engine, and we've done so many cool things with Unity, and we also host these game jams. I'm not sure if I've talked about game jams before on your show.
What are the game jams? I want to know, because I don't think you have.
Okay, so a game jam. So we're getting away from Dragons of Valanthea. This is another one of the hats I wear. I'm on the board of directors for the Global Game Jam. A game jam is an event when people get together for one weekend and make games. And it could be just something that's going on in a company that's doing it, or a citywide game jam. And I'm also on the board of directors for the Global Game Jam, which means once a year we encourage teams to meet in different places all over the world, scores of different countries. And on Friday of that weekend, we announce a theme. It's a closely held secret before the jam.
Okay.
And then Friday afternoon in the local time zone of all these countries, the theme is announced. And by Sunday, they have to have games done. So at the last Global Game Jam, which was in January 2013, we had teams in about 64 different countries.
Wow.
That in one weekend made over 3,200 games. It was amazing. And to see people getting together and making games in countries that you wouldn't normally expect. We had a team in Tunisia. We had a site in Nigeria. We had a site in Romania. And, of course, there are tons of sites in different parts of the United States and different parts of Europe, Australia, Japan. It's amazing to look at the map and just seeing how many people are coming together. And there's some games that you may have heard of that got their start at a game jam. For example, there's this game, Surgeon Simulator, which you may have seen online. It's kind of a goofy, kind of clumsy here, do a heart transplant and
I actually
get
have
knocked over. And that
that
started from the game jam. We had the theme for last year was it was a sound, and the sound was the sound of a beating heart. Boom, 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 boom. And then people would just take that theme and run with it to see what kind of games they could make. And one team decided they were going to do this weird, goofy surgeon simulator, and they had something basic in, I think, 24 hours. They released a video. It went viral. Then they got funding to make a full game, and it was just an amazing success story.
So whatever the piece that you give isn't necessarily like a topic. I mean, that's just a sound. Like, so the whole game revolved around the sound of a heart. That's all you gave them is their starting point?
That's all we did. And the games don't have to be video games. We have people that come in and make board games. We have people that make card games. So they don't necessarily have to use the sound of a beating heart. It was just a starting point for the brainstorming. So one year the theme was, it was a picture. It was the Ouroboros, the snake that's eating its tail.
Right.
And again, people didn't have to use that image in their games, but it was a starting point. So they're like, okay, what does this mean? Well, it could be a snake. It could be the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. It could be something to do with medicine. And there's really no limits. People can go out and make any kind of game they want.
And now, so you give everybody this idea. Here's your idea, the sound of a beating heart. They go out and create the game. And is the goal just to create it by the end of the weekend? Or are they, most of them, looking for some kind of funding or hoping something will happen, or just an exercise in creativity?
Just an exercise in creativity. We want people to innovate. We want them to be inspired. It's not a competition. And not all games are finished, but we're interested in seeing kind of anything that anyone has. We want to end up with a game, and we're not looking for full World of Warcraft kind of games, but a game that someone can experience maybe 2 to 5 minutes. That's something you can really, a scope that you can kind of get in one weekend worth of development. But game jams have been life-changing experiences for so many people because it lets them use, say, skills that they might have been learning elsewhere and then come together with like-minded people. Or some people come in and they don't have any skills at all, but they're just interested in learning. And there's so much to do at a game jam. There's so much work involved that there's really something for everyone. We've had children come in. We had an 8-year-old come in, and we told him, okay, well, we need a sound effect of an explosion. Can you go surf the internet and find us the sound effect of an explosion? Nice. And he did, and then we had to kind of edit, okay, well, we need a shorter explosion, and he did that. Or we have people that are like sketching out what is a game screen going to look like, what are the buttons going to be like. So some people are programming, some people are artists, and they're just sketching as fast as they can. We have sound people come in, someone that wants to compose music. Maybe someone wants to come in and says, I want to make goofy vocal sound effects in a game. We're like, okay, we'll figure out a way to work you in. It's really something for everyone to do.
Now, you said it's once a year, and the last one was last January. So is it pretty much the same time? Are we almost, 2 months away from the next one?
Yes, we're gearing up for the 2014 Global Game Jam. It'll be January 24th to 26th. Anyone that's interested, there's 2 sign-up phases. The first sign-up phase is where people will register a site. They're saying, I'm going to host a location for the Global Game Jam. So we're currently in site sign-up, and anyone who's interested can go and register a site at globalgamejam.org. And then pretty soon, maybe by the time this show actually airs, I'm not certain of the exact date, we're going to open up, and then individuals come in, the jammers, and then they will sign up and they'll say, okay, well, I'm going to participate at this site. I'm going to be at the Poland site. I'm going to be at this site in Mexico. I'm going to be participating at this site in Romania. And then the site organizers for each site will kind of coordinate from there. So where do people show up? What do they need to bring? Lining up sponsors. These are often free events. Here in St. Louis, I've organized several jams, not just for the Global Game Jam, but just mid-year jams, say April or September. And we just bring in a bunch of people, and I have sponsors, and so all the food is covered and all the drinks are covered. And we provide electricity and Wi-Fi, and we say, here's the tables, here's the chairs. Okay, go for it. Let's see what you can do in 48 hours.
Now, I know you can't tell because it's a closely guarded secret. Do you personally know what it's going to be this year? Is the secret in your head?
What the theme is going to be for
do you
January?
Do you know the theme for January of 2014?
It has not been chosen yet. In fact, we have a committee that is very, very serious about the process of choosing a theme. They're not just pulling something out of the hat. They're really thinking at almost a PhD level, or possibly even past, about the nature of ideas and inspiration. And they're debating several different concepts right now.
Wow. Okay. Now, do you get to work on that? Are you part of the idea process?
It depends on which jam we're doing. For the global game jam, since I'm on the board of directors, I'm really more involved with the organizing of things rather than the specifics. When it comes to one of the more local jams, the St. Louis game jams, I'm definitely the person who chooses the theme sometimes, but sometimes I want to be surprised. Sometimes I want someone else to come up with the theme, and I want to make a game. I don't want to just be the organizer. So I've participated in creating flash games. We've made games for GPSs called Wherigos, which are sort of alternate reality location-based games. I'm super interested in location-based games right now. And so it really depends from what's going on, who's organizing it, and how much do I need to have my manager hat on, and how much do I have my game developer hat on.
Nice. Yeah, because you have, I know from your background that you have a lot of, you say like everyone else is really smart. You're super smarty pants yourself, and I know it. So you have all this cryptology background and have done all this neat stuff. So I can imagine if you were involved in the process of coming with an idea that I'm like some crazy puzzly thing. I would think yours would be insane. It's like, I can't even figure out what she wants me to do. It's a puzzle just to figure out the topic.
Actually, the person who should really get blamed for that is David Watley, who's the CEO at Simutronics, and he chose the theme for the most recent game jam, and he chose the word reticulate. And we all just stopped and looked at him. None of us knew what it meant.
What does reticulate mean? I know I should know what that word means, and I don't.
Well, generally you'll hear it when someone talks about like a reticulated spine that a snake has. It means to kind of divide up into sections. So if you're laying out a grid on a map, you could say that you're sort of reticulating the map, or a river when it reaches the coast and it divides up into that delta, all the different streams, that's right. Reticulation.
Okay.
And different people took it in different ways. It might have meant mapping. It might have meant something like lightning, kind of the way the lightning kind of divides and forks. But again, the games didn't have to be literally about reticulation. It was just kind of a starting point. Okay, brainstorm. We need to make a game that has something to do with the theme of reticulate.
Wow.
And then you see all the wheels turning. Another one of the fun themes that I chose, it wasn't cryptography. It was, again, just a jumping off point, was the phrase, twice upon a time.
And that was the starting point for a game.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's great. Now, and you're saying that he was the guy behind Dragons of Valanthia and coming up with the idea for it?
Yes.
Is it full of lots of big words that nobody's going to know what they mean?
Actually, there's very few words. Mostly it's really cool 3D dragons that have been designed in amazing detail by an extremely talented team of artists that we've got. Tracy Butler, she's our art director, so talented. And when she's not making games at Simutronics, she's creating a webcomic. She's got the webcomic Lackadaisy, which has won awards. It was even nominated for some major comic book awards, where it's about a bunch of anthropomorphic cats living in 1920s St. Louis, kind of the speakeasy days. And the art is beautiful. And then she can just change gears from drawing these gangster cats over to designing dragons in this medieval fantasy world. And it's a whole team of artists. And honestly, one of my favorite things to do with Dragons of Valanthia is just to sit and watch other people play, because the environments, the dragons, the animations, it's just gorgeous.
Now, how is the 3D part of this realized? Is there a headset or a visor or anything that goes along with this?
It depends how someone wants to play. We've designed the game to be played on Windows computers, PCs. However, we're also working with someone who's creating a headset, Jerry Ellsworth. She's got a company, Technical Illusions, and she's got a Kickstarter running right now as well for an augmented reality headset called the Castar, or some people call it Cast AR. And she's trying to get funding for that, and she's a hardware genius when it comes to creating anything to do for game hardware. And she's working with us, our Dragons of Valanthia game, because we've got a game that looks awesome to someone who's wearing the headset. And so we're doing a cross-promotion. We're on her Kickstarter. She's got updates pointing people over at our game, and we're doing updates where we're pointing people over at her headset. And it's been a really nice collaboration.
Very cool. Now, you said you have, well, as of this recording, you have, a couple of weeks left on your Kickstarter?
Right. It's going to wrap up, I think, the day before Thanksgiving. So that will be November 27th will be the last day.
So it's got a little time. That's going to be cool. Oh, I'm interested to see this. And the headset thing, I'm curious. Now I have to look up that too, because I didn't know about that before we started talking. So now I'm curious to see how, I got to go look up her Kickstarter too and see how that all works.
It's getting a lot of attention. As a matter of fact, Steve Wozniak was just tweeting about it yesterday, how he thinks it looks really cool.
Well, that's kind of a bit of an endorsement.
Yes.
I would think he would know what he's talking about. Yeah, that's a big deal. So, well, Alanka, thank you so much for coming on and talking about all of this cool stuff. Tell people where they can find out more about the Kickstarter and about the Global Games Day. Give me all the stuff.
So for the Global Game Jam, they want to go to globalgamejam.org, and they can get all the information they need there. For our Kickstarter, learn more about the game, go to dragonsofelanthia.com. That's, I'll just spell it, DRAGONSOFELANTHIA.com. Or you can go to Steam Greenlight as well and just search on Dragons of Elanthia over there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Alanka.
Sure, anytime.
That sound means it's time for us to talk about our friends at the War Store. Vic the Viking has put on his Santa hat, and he is ready for the holiday season.
He's charging straight at you.
And, there really is not, we talk about this all the time, a fantastic place to go on the internet for fantastic prices on the web, and really a crazy good selection of all the miniature war games. Just go to the left-hand side, find the great stuff, and the War Store is available for you. They are at the conventions. They are at the stuff. War Store weekends just wrapped up. They had a blast over there. Check all this stuff out. Get over to the War Store. Get your great miniature games. So what kind of great miniature games do they carry, Craig?
Oh, they carry just about everything, Russ. Now, if you're talking about fantasy, you're talking Anima Tactics, Avatars of War, D&D, Darklands, Dystopian Wars, Endless Fantasy. But let's say you're talking about, you want to look at some sci-fi. Well, you're talking about Reaper, Chronoscope, Mercs, Infinity, Judge Dredd, Studio Miniatures, Star Wars X-Wing game. I mean, it's really crazy. But let's say sci-fi and fantasy, really not your thing. What if you're looking for steampunk? Well, they've got your steampunk right there. You're talking about all the different Dystopian Wars elements, Leviathans, Malifaux, Privateer Press, all kinds. That's right. They sell almost every miniature game that you could possibly think of.
Get on down today. And don't forget also, they have fantastic terrain, too. Basically,
they do.
If you're a miniature gamer and you need something for the hobby, just head on over to the War Store. You will not be disappointed.
No. And their front page is an awesome place to go for the latest in miniatures news.
And Twitter, too, at the War Store. Check them out.
I'm Rafe Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute.
Good morning, and welcome to another lovely fall day here in New England. I have my coffee. Now, this morning with my coffee, this is Rafe Granger of the Hollywood Minute. So this time in my coffee, we ran out of milk, so I have some sort of coconut-flavored cafe coconut water or something. I don't know. Chocolate-flavored coconut latte from Trader Joe's coconut water. It's pretty good. It's a little sweet, but other than that, it's not steering me too wrong. All right, got a lot to talk to you about today. Flew out to Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, to be exact. That is the world headquarters to Doc's Gaming Emporium, otherwise known as Discount Game Store. Find them on the web, selling tons of Warhammer and War Machine supplies and other goodies as well. And flew out there for a Rocket Dog business trip, and Doc's my business partner on that, so we got a lot of business planning done, which was really great. Spoke at a bankruptcy convention out there on credit reports. And while we were there, though, gaming-wise, later that night we got to play the most incredible game of War Machine I've played in a long time, probably since my Colossal Wrecked Russ. So that's how fun it was. Doc played his Legion, which I hadn't played way back in the day. My associate Sid Wong used to play Legion, and he and I used to have lots of fun doing that. And he played his Legion, I played Khador. It was really cool because we're in a game store. I was able to pick out a fully painted Khador list and play with it slightly differently than I normally play. Because I still played Vlad. And what was fun, what I want to talk to you about in this was that, Doc and I are really good friends. And so there's this period of time where I think I had a jack ready to charge, and I totally forgot to put focus on it. And I said to myself, Doc's like, go ahead, yeah, I knew you were going to charge. And I didn't put the focus on it. And I did it on purpose, not because we were trying to play hardcore, because, by the way, we weren't. There was a couple times when he would remind me of a couple of my group's abilities, not in the moment, but just maybe a little bit have a time. Say, hey, don't forget, they have knockdown, that kind of thing. And then, and there was a couple times where I think Doc forgot or was thinking about doing something, and I reminded him. But when it came to sort of something like putting focus on a jack, even when I forgot, even when it was clear I intended to, we didn't do it. And what that did was it created a game where I think when two tight players are playing War Machine and they're tight, if you don't allow yourself to make mistakes, number one, you won't have as much fun figuring your way out of it. And number two, the other person you figure is going to make a mistake too. If you take away each other's mistakes, then you don't have the ability to seize on the opportunity and get your win and feel good about it. So in other words, if you took your mistake like I did by forgetting to put my focus on the jack, and then later on in the game, I execute a good maneuver, it feels kind of good. And the other thing it did, and I didn't even intend this, was your opponent will also suffer through their own mistakes. There's a couple times when Doc would make mistakes with his beasts, or he forgot to cast an animus, or he'd move something in the wrong way, and he'd be like, nope, you know what, I'm going to stick with it. So anyway, I just found that it was a lot of fun to live with one's mistakes and still have a friendly match. So I wanted to pass that on to you guys. Don't always take your mistake backs in a friendly game. The other thing I want to talk to you about is reading some new comics. One of them Doc shined me onto. It's called Love in Capes, and it's a romantic comedy type of sitcom comic drawn in an Art Deco style. There's like 5 trades out there already, and it's based on a Superman character, a Batman character, and a woman character. Now, it's not using those IP, so Superman's through Crusader. Batman is called Darkblade, and Wonder Woman is Amazonia. But what's really cool is it looks behind the scenes if Superman were dating. I don't know. I just find it cute. It's funny. It was a page burner. I read the whole thing. It was really good. Also had a chance to read the new Robert Langdon style. That's the character in Dan Brown's books. Dan Brown's a native of New England, by the way, New Hampshire. And this book, Inferno, was really good. I recommend anybody who likes Dan Brown, go ahead out and read it. And there's a really interesting scientific properties in there about population that is really kind of cool, set in a fictionalized way. Now, the book was preachy, but it's done through fiction. That doesn't bother me. If some of you don't like preachy books, then maybe that'll offend you, but unless you agree with what's preaching, I guess. But that didn't bother me in the slightest. I really liked it, and I think I learned from it, too, and I liked that it was fictionalized. I thought it was really good. The other book I'm reading, comics that I'm reading is The Batman Black and Whites. I highly recommend that. I think it's a 6-issue run, and what they are is they're a bunch of short stories drawn just in black and white. All different types of art styles, all types of stories. Really recommend that as a comic read. Now, let's see what else gaming-wise. Finally had a chance. I was just about to eBay my Star Wars Ship Battles game, and I got a chance to play it over at Ian's. Ian had a little impromptu game night and played it, and man, I had a blast with that game. I want to get some more ships now. It's so funny. I don't do well with the Wings of War types of games where you're arcing your ships. It's kind of boring. But at the same time of being boring, it's fun. So I can't explain it, guys, but it's boring but yet fun. And I want to keep playing it. I guess when I say it's boring, it's not as intricate as like a War Machine, But we played a kill mission, and I think it's better off if you play an actual mission. So that's my quick Hollywood Minute rundown for you. Kind of scattered all over the place. Not playing too much Xbox 360. Playing Arkham Asylum. Really enjoying that game. I suffered through the memory crash. So I'm almost back to where I am before. Lord of the Rings Online has a new expansion, which I surprisingly have not downloaded yet. And that's pretty much what's keeping me busy. I am looking forward to TempleCon. And we're also, me, Old Andy, Matt, and Stino are looking to pick up an Infantry Aces campaign. So I'll let you know how that's going on. Oh, and regarding my Cult of the New, I'm going to be putting a blog article up about that, hopefully, over the next week. I actually have to be away from my computer for about 4 days, so that might be challenging. But, look for that up at the blog. The blog is jimmydjango.com. You can find me on Twitter, the D6G Hollywood. And this is me, Rafe Hollywood Granger, signing out. Until next time.
Now it's time to talk about our friends at Urban Lasercraft, making all kinds of cool stuff with lasers.
Oh, yeah, they're pew, 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 pew. Sorry, forgot about the laser sound effect.
No. What's really cool about Urban Lasercraft is all the awesome stuff they do with terrain. I mean, that's really their big thing. You know, they got the alternate history village now. You know, Wild West Exodus is shipping, and if you need terrain for that game, look no further than Urban Lasercraft.
You cannot beat these buildings designed based upon my buildings.
Let's say you're like me. And
awesome neon signs.
Exactly right. And let's say you're like me and you get sucked into Malifaux 2 lately. You know, playing the bejesus out of that game. And you need all the tokens because you need, your objective markers and your status markers. And don't worry, Urban Lasercraft's got them all. And they're over there. They're hardcore Malifaux players. They've got all the tokens. Everything makes sense. Great markers for everything. Tracking your schemes. All that great stuff.
It is amazing. And you know what? They're also very clever with their wordsmithing over there.
Are they?
And so they're announcing right now a big sale called the Malifaux Black Joker Friday sale. Now, of course, the Black Joker is the worst card in the deck that you can flip in that entire game. But they're turning it around and giving you a special deal on all those tokens you need to play the game.
Exactly right. So if you are a Malifaux player just dipping your toe or a veteran finally switching over to version 2, head on over to urbanlasercraft.com and check out the amazing deals and the amazing tokens.
This is the Dice Tower Network at dicetowernetwork.com.
You know, Craig, it's always fun to talk about our friends at Game Salute. You know, it's funny. I ran into one of our listeners at Myriad Games the other day, and they were talking about Dan. It's like, until you really get to know Dan and understand what Game Salute does, it's really possible to get to fully grasp the magnitude of behind the scenes activities that go on.
The man is into everything.
He really is, and it's hard to overstate that because he really is. And Game Salute, these are the guys that bring to you via Kickstarter and other methodologies great games by little studios who really couldn't get the games out there by themselves. And so when you see that cool Game Salute logo, by the way, just redone, Craig, it's really snazzy.
Yes, it's a lovely little
winged meeple.
It's very smooth.
Yeah, very, very snazzy. When you see that logo, you know you've got a great game there. The Game Salute seal of approval, and all these things are great available at Kickstarter. And they've got, fun light things like little snowball fights, or they've got really deep stuff as well, like
dreaming spires about architecture.
Yeah, just runs the gamut. So head on over to gamesalute.com and check out all their latest stuff as well as their new fancy website.
Yes.
You looking for news, reviews, and interviews? The D6 generation. It's groovy is as groovy does defined, baby. The D6 generation. Born to game. Oh, yeah.
Welcome back. We had this big contest, Craig.
We did.
And we figured we should review the game Dungeon Roll. But before that, let's review, if you will, all these fantastic entries and pick a winner. Actually, we got to pick two winners, Craig. We do. We have 2 copies of Dungeon Roll to give away, along with the promo card boosters that we're giving out at
must-have.
Yeah, exactly right. Our friends at Tasty Minstrels gave us these to give away. We really appreciate it.
As we said, grab every expansion that comes out.
It's right. So here we go. So we're going to start off. We're going to go. Now, what we asked you to do, our loyal listeners, our dedicated folks who listen to this show.
You creative nutties.
Yes. We asked you to give us a line that a party delving through a dungeon might say. I think at one point we said when they see the dragon. Another point we just said any time in the dungeon. So we're going to have a little leeway here.
It's fluid. It's a living document, our contests are.
And we asked you to either send in a text entry that Craig and I would do a dramatic reading of, or audio, which we could play on the show. So we're going to do both. We're going to go through all the entries here, and as we go along, Craig and I are going to mentally digest our favorites, and then right here on the air, live, and before a studio audience, we will pick a winner or two at the end of this thing. Ready?
Yep.
All right, so here we go. We're going to take our first entry here.
Yep.
From Roy Anderson, Craig. Now, Craig is taking this. We're actually processing the entries live on the air here. This is the kind of interaction you get here on the show.
That's right. Roy Anderson, check.
Or laziness, depending on how you look at it.
Locked in.
So here we go. Okay. So Roy has sent us a text entry that I will now read. Roy says what his leader might say. My bad. Is this your dungeon? We're just leaving. All right. So that was Roy's entry.
Okay.
Brief but witty. I liked it, Roy.
There you go. Pithy, in fact.
Right. We got a few text ones here. I'll take these first few, Craig, and we'll do some audios. Here we go. Now, Shannon Wyatt or White, maybe? It might be Wyatt. I'm going to go. Wyatt just sounds like a cowboy name. I'm going to go with that, Shannon. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. This is done in the style of a dwarf paladin. Are you ready?
In the style of a dwarf paladin.
In the style of a dwarf paladin. Bloody hell, that's a big bugger. But by gosh, she's beauty, eh? I call the head. All right.
I call the head?
Yep. Not bad. I think I probably massacred the accent there, but nice entry there, Shannon. All right. So Shannon's entry there, the dwarf calling the head. Oh, here's one from Tin Van Den Broek. Or maybe Broek. Oh, he's got a video here. Ready? He did from YouTube.
A video?
Are you ready? Here we go. I'm going to play the audio here. Here we go.
Okay.
Well,
not family friendly, but probably just hard enough to understand what he was saying that we might be able to put it in the show.
We're going to leave that one in the show probably, but there you go. Probably not his own work, but still good. Still good. Okay.
Took me a second to understand what I was hearing.
Right.
Okay.
All right. That's pretty funny, though. Give him that. All right. Okay. This one is from Bobby Warren.
Bobby Warren?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, dragon. Very dangerous. You go first. All right. Okay. That's pretty good. Pretty witty. Short. Again, brief. Brief is good.
Well, we asked for brief.
Yes. Okay. This one's got an audio version. Are we ready? Here we go.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Let's see what we got here. And by the way, this is from Tigid. Tegid. Tigid. Yes, I guess so.
Or Tegid.
Tegid. Yeah, we'll go with that. All right. Here we go. Here's his entry.
Yep.
Oh, a puppy. Really, sir? Is this really going to be your entry in the dungeon roll contest? What? What's wrong with puppies? This is not a puppy, sir. Really? Because it doesn't look like a kitty to me. No, sire. This is not a puppy, nor a kitty. It is a dragon. A dragon? Like from this film, with short guys with hairy feet? You mean hobbits, sir? No, I mean dragon. Yes, fire-breathing winged lizard that wreaks havoc, death, and destruction. A dragon. Are you sure it's not a puppy? Yes, sire, I'm sure. Oh, damn it.
That was pretty good. All right, so Tegid's entry there. A lot of work on that one from Tegid. I liked it. I appreciate that effort. All right, here we go. Yep. It's okay, guys. It's just one. That is from Caddis. It's okay, guys. It's just one. He's saying like there's only one of them. It's no big deal.
Okay.
One dragon.
And who was that? You're changing format on me, man.
Sorry, that was from Caddis.
Caddis.
It's okay, guys. It's just one. Caddis's line. Yep, that was a pretty good one.
Gotcha.
Short and sweet. All right, we got another audio entry here. This one is from Vincent Rodrigo. Let's see what his sounds like. Here we go.
Well, that escalated quickly.
That was pretty good. that one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Not only that actually really works. Like I could see myself using that quote playing Dungeon Roll. Like, I got 6 heroes left.
Or Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. I got 6 heroes
that
left.
escalated quickly.
I got to press on for another level. And he rolls like all goblins. Like, well, that escalated quickly.
That's right. I rolled 3 dragons and a slime mold.
Well, that
escalated quickly.
All right. Vincent.
Okay.
You got to write down next to Vince's name. That escalated quickly. I think.
Well done. Well done.
Vince is in the running there with that one. That was pretty good. All right, here we go. Here comes another entry.
Yep.
This one is from Brian Winder. Let's see. He's got a little audio here. Let's see what we're going to do here.
Looks like we're going to need a bigger loot bag.
Oh.
Okay.
I was optimistic. I like that.
Little Jaws reference.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Now, our friend, this is from Ben M. Here it is. He's got audio also. I'm liking the audio ones here. Let's work for me. Here we go.
Not to alarm anyone, but there's a dragon around the corner.
A dragon? How bad is it?
Based on the patent-pending D6G dragon head counting system.
Is there any other way to rate a dragon?
Well, I lost count, but I'd say it's at least a 3+, maybe with a reroll.
What's a reroll?
Wow. That was pretty good.
Oh, God.
That was pretty good, Ben. And assistant. Ben didn't name his assistant,
indeed.
but that was excellent. So that's another one in the running there, Craig. Make sure you put a little asterisk next to that one. Another good one. All right,
they're all getting asterisks,
not that we're
Russ.
prejudging.
You're not
I'm not
going into this prejudging.
No, not at all. That's not what's happening here. All right, moving right along. Okay, our friend Norman Mueller. He's got an umlaut, so I think it's Mueller. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Here we go. Norman's contest entry. Here it is.
Come, my elven brothers. The retribution is at hand. Just one more corner and... By Skyra, a dragon. Quick, transform your cod pieces.
Craig, your codpiece transformation meme may be passing the poll.
Oh God!
Which is actually a double entendre as well. A reference on the show. That was pretty good. All right.
Oh God! Talk amongst yourselves. Oh God!
We have lost Craig, folks. Excellent entry, Norman. Norman, that was awesome. All right.
Okay. Oh God. Well, give me a second. Okay.
All right. Good.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, the codpiece was awesome. All right.
Oh God! And the Transformer sound effect.
I know. Put it across the line. All right. You got another verbal entry here, Craig. You ready?
Okay. Yep.
This is from Brock Polson. And here it goes. Well, gents, smoke 'em if you got 'em. Though I suppose we'll all be smoking soon. Pretty good. Not too shabby.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah, I like that one. All right, let's see. Okay, we're getting down there to the final few here. Let's see. We've got another one from...
Ouch, I hurt myself.
All right. Our friend Phil. See, Phil must have just heard me saying that the codpiece piece is surpassing the poll.
Yeah.
All right. Phil's got quite an entry. I got to do a dramatic reading here.
Uh-oh.
Actually, he wants you to read it, Craig. So let me just take this here.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in the share.
Send it through magic.
I'm going to send it through magic. All right, Craig. So Phil asked you to read this one. So are you ready?
I do. The magic has succeeded. I am all set.
This one's got a little depth. So ready? Here we go. Go ahead.
The silence of the dungeon is only broken by the echoing footsteps of a small party of adventurers. Bringing up the rear are 2 low-level NPCs carrying a long, thin, highly polished metallic object. Bravely striding forward like a champion of all that is true and decent, proudly displaying his mighty hamster emblem is Sir Phil of England. The NPCs are muttering to themselves and complaining to their noble party leader, who speaks. Yes, I know exactly how much that pole weighs. I've single-handedly carried it for the past 5 years, you know. Just be ready to stand it up at a moment's notice. More muttering from the underlings. Of course it's strong enough. The pole has a weight limit of 250 pounds. Have you seen her? She'd be 80 pounds soaking wet. Interesting thought. At that moment, a scaly beast of enormous proportions steps into view and blasts fire from its snarling maw and roars at the party. Brave Sir Phil calmly stares back at the beast and asks, "Hello, dragon. Would your mother care to dance?"
Nice one, Phil.
Ouch.
Well, Phil never fails to sneak in the good poll reference there.
Right.
All right, that was another good one. Wow, it's getting hard, Craig.
I know.
It's getting hard. Hope you're making copious notes there. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, I'll give you a break here. Recover yourself. This one's from Armand, and he's got a little one. I got a little audio effect here. We're going to by Auroch's left ventricle. Looks like we'll need a new torchbearer. Better check to see if he's spent those coppers yet. Waste not, want not. That's pretty good. Another contest. Here we go. Another entry from, this is from our friend Natalie.
Natalie. Hello, Natalie.
She says, well, delving a dungeon. Wait, what do you mean you just saw a hobbit and some dwarves?
Oh,
Not bad.
subtle.
I like it. All right, good one. Here's one contest from Rob Barnett. I think we're going to need a bigger buff.
Uh-oh, here we go.
I like that one. That's a good one, too. These are really witty. You guys did great. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. Getting down to our final three here.
Okay.
The final three. One of the final three is from Tanya. She's got a little YouTube video here as well.
All right.
Uh-oh.
Okay, guys. These eggs have given us a lot of trouble in the past.
Oh, no.
Does anybody need anything off this guy, or can we bypass him?
I think Leroy needs something from this guy.
Oh, no.
Oh, he needs those devout shoulders? Isn't he a paladin?
Yeah, but that'll help him heal better. He'll have more mana.
Christ. Okay, well, what we'll do, I'll run in first, gather up all the eggs so we can kind of just, blast them all down with AoE. I will use Intimidating Shout to kind of scatter them so we don't have to fight a whole bunch of them at once. When my shout's done, I'll need Anthony to come in and drop his shout too, so we can keep them scattered and not have to fight too many. When his is done, Bass, of course, will need to run in and do the same thing. We're going to need Divine Intervention on our mages, so they can AE, so we can, of course, get them down fast, because we're bringing all these guys. I mean, we'll be in trouble if we don't take them down quick. I think it's a pretty good plan. We should be able to pull it off this time. What do you think, Abdul? Can you give me a number crunch real quick?
Yeah, give me a sec. I'm coming up with 32.33, repeating, of course, percentage of survival.
Oh, that's a lot better than we usually do. All
right, chums up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do
this. Leroy Dragons!
It's the old
An oldie but a goodie.
An oldie but a classic meme brought back. It actually is very appropriate for Dungeon Roll.
I didn't hear any Tanyas in that group, though.
No. Okay, so Leroy Jenkins. Well, that's the original Leroy Jenkins video for YouTube she put in there. That's what that was.
Oh, okay.
All right. Let's see. So here we go. This person's got 2 entries. So Ashley Kennedy. We'll go with the first one here. We'll count your first one, Ashley, but we'll play the second one too, just see.
Just to be cruel, watch the second one be better. But we're not going to count it. Okay, go.
How did you get down here?
How did you get down here? That was a good one. Okay. Let's see what the second one is. Let's see. Here we go.
So which one of you guys invited my mother-in-law?
A contest wouldn't be complete without a mother-in-law joke. All right, this is good. Okay, Craig, well, that's it. That's all of them. We've got every entry, and now we've got to review our notes, and we're going to copiously review our notes here and decide individually who we each can pick one, I guess, right? Because we got 2 prizes to give away.
Yeah.
So why don't you pick one, and I'll pick one, and we'll see who we think is the winner.
Okay.
All right, so Craig, let me know when you've got an entry. I'm looking at them now myself.
Oh, I don't know, Russ.
All right.
There's some good ones.
Which one are you going to go with?
I have to choose now?
I'll choose first. I got one. Ready?
Okay, yes.
I am going to choose Norman Mueller. That the cod piece reference was too juicy. Like anything to get you laughing for like 10, 20 seconds straight is worth a win. So Normal, you are going to win. You're going to get one of the copies of Dungeon Roll with all the boosters from Gen Con.
Yep. Okay.
So who are you going to choose?
All right. I got to do it because sometimes pithy is a good way to go. And I loved them all, and there were a lot of really, really good ones, obviously, not the least of which was the one that I read. But to be honest, I'm going to go with Vincent Rodrigo.
Oh, nice.
Well, that escalated quickly.
That was really, I like that one too.
And not to take anything away from, because, I mean, let's face it, half of these would have won if the other half weren't here.
Yes.
So this is, this is one of those photo finish contests, folks.
It is. Thank you so much for entering, and it was great to see so many new names in our contest. That was fantastic. Thanks for participating, folks.
Thank you very much, guys.
And listen very carefully for the next contest coming, I think it's the beginning of this episode. It's already going.
I think we've already announced it.
So we hope you jump in, and thanks again for participating, everyone.
Time travel headache.
And now it's time to review the game we just gave away, Dungeon Roll.
You're listening to the D6 generation. Born to game.
Welcome back, and now it's time to talk about Dungeon Roll, right?
Dungeon Roll.
You know, this is one of the hotnesses from Gen Con as well. I think it was hot because I don't know if that many of us were really expecting it to be a huge thing at Gen Con. Were you, Craig?
Sorry, I'm trapped in a dungeon.
Very, very nice.
Yeah. No, actually, I wasn't. I saw it on Kickstarter. I wasn't interested in it. I think I clicked on it for a couple seconds and went, forget it. Stopped at their booth at Gen Con and was blown away by the first demo. And if they had the little pad there, the inked playmat, I would have bought the whole thing right there, but they didn't have any. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I had you buy me one after I left.
Yeah, so this game was interesting because you're right. When it was on Kickstarter, I was like, dice in a dungeon, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you see this game played, it really draws you right in with its elegant simplicity, but capturing
it is so
the theme.
much fun.
It really is. And so what is it? It came out this year. It was actually a Kickstarter project, as you mentioned.
Of course.
All kinds of bonuses, and I wish I had backed it on Kickstarter because it had the cool little, mimic chest version.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, looks like a mimic from old D&D.
Yeah. It also had the Dragon's Lair card and the Graveyard card, which to me you really need in order to play the game.
Yes.
And I don't that's the only thing I don't get why it was a Kickstarter thing and not in the regular game. But other than that, I get the whole thing.
Yeah, so basically what this thing is, it's from our friends at Tasty Minstrel Games.
Yes.
And it is a 1 to 4 player game, so you can play it solo.
Yeah.
Really quick little filler game, 15 to 30 minutes, right? Really.
Absolutely. Without a doubt, this is not one of those 15 to 30 minutes that takes 3 hours.
And it is a great price point also. At Gen Con, they were selling it for $15, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's now, the suggested retail price is $19.99, so $20, which is still a steal for all the cool custom dice you get inside the thing.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is it comes in a little treasure chest entire box with this hinged lid and everything. It's really cute. It's all done up like it looks like it's wood paneling and everything. It's really nice.
And it has an in-game function as well, which is cool.
Right. So what is the theme of this game, Craig?
Well, the theme, Russ, is of course a dungeon delve.
Mm-hmm.
So that it really hits all of the dungeon crawl memes. You're recruiting a party. You're leading them into the dungeon. You're fighting monsters. You're picking up treasures. You're trying to dodge the dragon that lives in deep down within the dungeon.
Yes.
And it's got it all.
It does. And to keep it quick, basically the whole goal of the game is to get out of the dungeon with the most experience points for your party.
Yep.
And so instead of being like Cutthroat Caverns, where each of you is commanding a single person, you each are in command of a party trying to do the best in its own dungeon. And it's sort of solo games, except that you interact in that the player to your left is the dungeon playing the dungeon itself against you.
Right.
And it's 3 rounds. So you're going to run the table 3 times. You're going to get the best. You're going to add up all your scores from each of your delves, and the person with the biggest points at the end is the winner.
That's it.
Dollars to it. And it is limited to 3 rounds, so it's going to be pretty fast.
Yeah, that's why it's so fast.
So, Craig, what comes in the box? I mean, chest.
Oh, the chest. The chest has 7 white party dice, and these are going to tell you don't get to choose for the most part who's going to be in your party. You have to roll these dice, and they'll come up wizards, thieves, warriors, or champions.
Oh, yes.
And that's going to be – I love it when you roll all wizards, and I'm like, oh, it's a Hogwarts field trip.
Right.
And so these 7 white party dice are going to tell you who's in your party as you head out to go fight the monsters. Then there's 7 black dungeon dice, which include 3 different monster types: goblins, undead, and jello molds. Slimes. And treasures and potions.
And dragons.
What?
And dragons.
Oh, and dragons. Let's not forget the dragons.
Right.
And so, yes. So then this is an intriguing option. That was one enormous, oversized, 10-sided die with a big dragon head symbol. What is it, on the 1 or the 10?
I forget, but yes, one of them.
One of them is the. I have it actually within
10.
sight.
Yep.
Let me reach.
Go get that.
Here I am. I am actually holding my copy.
Very nice.
And I am looking inside, and it's really cool. The font of the numbers is really cool, and the dragon is on the 10.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, and but the problem is like this. It's like the coolest die in the box, and it never really sees action because all you're doing is you're keeping track of what level dungeon you're on, what level you are on in the dungeon, and there are cooler ways to do that. See the inked playmats we'll talk about later.
Right.
But it is without a doubt the cool. It's oversized. It's black and shiny. It has this cool font on it and the big dragon. So that's a cool 10-sided die. And then there's cardboard tokens. There's 36 treasure tokens, which include all kinds of really cool treasures that you can find over the course of your delve. Such things as
swords,
a talisman, or a potion, or thieves' tools, or dragon scales, Vorpal swords, and the like.
Gotta have a Vorpal sword.
You gotta have a Vorpal sword.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the original box, you've got 8 hero cards, and these are going to be who you are, quote unquote, as you're playing. So and really cool artwork, beautiful artwork. They're double-sided. One side has the special rules with wooden background, and that's kind of like your launching special ability. And then once you get 5 experience points, you flip it, and it's a metal background. So that's your kind of like leveled up power, which is cool. One tiny little rule book, nice little quick reference chart on the back, and one book of heroes, which is a cool little fluff book that describes each of these original 8 heroes and who they are.
Right.
So you get a lot in this little box, which also coincidentally looks amazingly cool.
It's a treasure chest of treasure.
It is indeed a treasure chest chock full, one might say, of treasure.
And what makes the game endearing beyond the treasure chest is the fact that we should stress these dice are all custom. Most of them are D6s, but they've got etched into them in two-tone color. The die is black, and maybe there's a purple wizard's hat and the hero dice are white, and a purple wizard's hat, and then another side there's a golden champion helm. Another side,
blue wizard hat, purple thieves mask.
There you go.
Crossed green swords.
So they're multiple
the
colors.
Champion's hat is gold. Yeah, it's crazy.
Cool icons carved in the dice. They're really nice dice.
Yep.
All right. So setting up this game is really pretty straightforward. You basically dump everything out of the treasure chest except for the treasure tokens. Those go back in the chest and close the lid.
Yep.
Shake them up good. Then each player can either randomly be dealt a hero card, and this is sort of the leader of the party. This is who you play. Yep. Or you can let people pick, depending on how you want to do it.
Right. It's kind of hard to do it random because they're printed on the both. Yep. They've got the artwork on both sides. Yep. So you can kind of see. But if you kind of, avert your eyes, you can do it randomly.
And choose your favorite way to pick a first player, and you're ready to rock.
Yep.
Okay. And as we mentioned earlier, the goal of the game, very simple. There's going to be 3 and only 3 rounds, and the player with the most experience points wins. And basically the primary way you get experience points is it's a press your luck game. So when it's your turn, you're going to try to get your party as deep into the levels of the dungeon as you can, and you're going to primarily get XP for the level you get to. So if you get to level 5 and stop that round, you will score 5 XP.
Yeah.
If you go for level 6 and fail, you will score no XP. So you got to kind of decide, are you going on or not? Now, there's other ways to get XP, the most notably treasure, but the primary way is getting as deep as you can before you pass play to the next player.
Right.
All right. So the very first thing you do, so it's your turn. The player to your left now is going to play the Dungeon Master or Dungeon Lord. You are playing your party. So the first thing you're going to do is form your party.
Mm-hmm.
So to do that, you're going to roll your 7 white party dice, and the sides that come up basically represent the characters available to you in this particular delve. As Craig mentioned earlier, you might have a champion, a couple wizards. What'd you get, Craig?
I've got a cleric and 2 wizards and a champion and a scroll and a thief.
All right, so Craig's got his party. So now I, as the evil dungeon lord, set the level counter to 1 because it's his first level, and I'm going to roll monster dice equal to the current level. So now, since we're on level 1, I will roll 1 black monster die.
Oh, be kind, be kind.
And I get a goblin.
Oh, damn.
Okay? Now, what now happens is it's now time to fight the monsters. And Craig has some choices. He can use some scrolls, he can use his hero abilities, or like his hero ability in his card, or he can use some of his companions, they're called, the guys on his dice, to defeat one or more monsters. Any die can defeat any monster on a 1-to-1 ratio, but certain heroes can defeat up to 3 opponents of
all
a
of
kind,
them.
Or all of them on a kind.
It's,
so, for
it's
example,
all of them.
Yeah, so was it all of them? I thought it was up to 3. Oh, it's all of them.
It's all of them.
Wow. So that means like if you roll the fighter, the sword, right?
Yep.
He can defeat all the goblins with 1 fighter.
Correct.
All right. So if I rolled 1 goblin, he can use any of his dice to kill that goblin. But if he was on level 2 and I rolled 2 goblins, he could sacrifice a fighter to kill 2 goblins.
Right.
Right? So if it's level 2 later and I roll a goblin and a slime, and Craig will have to sacrifice 2 different dice for that.
Yeah.
So, or 2 of the same dice. Basically, sacrifice 2 dice to get rid of that because they're not pairs. So,
Right.
and you only got 7 heroes. So to make it through 10 levels
If
of the
you're
dungeon.
lucky.
Yeah. To make it through 10 levels of the dungeon, you're going to need some pretty good pairs to get through that deep.
Yeah.
Now, there are some things you can roll on the monster dice that are actually not monsters or not immediate threats to the party. I could roll the slime or the goblin or the skeleton. Is skeleton the other one?
Yeah, it's a skeleton. Yep.
Skeleton for the clerics. Those are the different monsters. But I could also roll a treasure chest, right?
Yep.
Now, if I roll a treasure chest, you kind of move those away from the monsters because the monsters are guarding the treasure chest I rolled. And if you get past all the monsters, you can then sacrifice heroes to open treasure chests and get to pull treasure tokens out of the actual big game box that looks like a treasure chest.
Yep.
1 rogue token can open as many treasure chests as you've got, or it's a 1-to-1 for those as well.
Right.
You might want to pull those tokens out of the box, though, right? Because there's some cool stuff in there. They're all worth a victory point, or you can spend them later in the game for bonus powers, right?
Yep.
So that's pretty much the primary way you do battle, right, Craig?
Yep. I was just checking to make sure that I was right about the
monsters.
Yeah, and it is. It's all of their specified type.
Nice. Now, one other thing you can do is you might have rolled a scroll on your party die. So your party die have the 3 different heroes plus a scroll.
Yep.
If you roll a scroll, you can use that first and decide to sacrifice the scroll to recover 1 hero from the dead pool, and it can match any side you want, right?
Yep.
So what happens is they call it the graveyard. So as you spend your hero dice, so let's just go through this real quick. So I rolled that 1 goblin. Craig, which hero are you going to sacrifice to get that
Okay,
goblin?
so here's why the goblin stinks, folks. Because I'm going to have to sacrifice one of my people to kill the goblin, and none of them really. I'm going to kill a wizard. I mean, not kill it. I'm going to send one of my 2 wizards after him because I have 2 of those.
Okay,
so I send my wizard, and my wizard, because it's a 1-on-1, they automatically win, but they go away.
Right. So he's got to remove the wizard from his dice pool and put it over in what they call the graveyard.
Yep.
And here's where Craig was talking about. If you have a collector's edition, they give you a little card you can put on the table called the graveyard. Or if you have a cool mat for a little zone to put your dice in the graveyard. Or you can just keep track of where the graveyard is and put your die off to the side out of your pool. So now Craig is down to 6 dice in his party. And now Craig has defeated level 1 of the dungeon. Craig can stop now and score 1 experience point. But why would he? He's got 6 dice left. He's going to say, I'm going to go for it, right?
Yep.
So then now we switch the D10 die to level 2, and I, as the evil overlord, get to roll dice equal to level 2 monster dice.
Yeah.
So I roll them. Now I get 2 slimes. Okay.
Oh.
Now Craig's got some choices.
Now you're a jerk.
Now he's got 1 wizard left, right?
Yep.
So he can spend that 1 wizard to kill all the slimes.
Yep.
Which is great because he's going to make it through level 2, only spending 1 die.
Right.
Right? So you're going to do that?
Yes, I will do that. So now I am down. I have no wizards left.
So the wizards are out in the graveyard, and he's down to 5 dice, And does he want to go on to level 3? Of course he does.
Absolutely.
So we turn the D10 to level 3, and I roll 3 dice. And this time, Craig gets lucky. I roll 2 treasure chests and a slime again. So what do you want to do?
Okay, now here's the deal. I have a champion, a rogue, and a cleric left. And you did what? You got one slime?
2 chests and a slime.
Okay. Now, the rogue, just like the fighter and the cleric and the wizard, can kill multiple of a specific type of monster. The rogue can open any number of chests. Otherwise, you have to sacrifice one of your companions for each chest. But I have to, the standard rules indicate that you have to kill all the monsters before you can get the treasure. So I have to sacrifice somebody. I'm going to sacrifice the cleric. Okay, so the cleric goes and fights the slime mold, and I then will use my thief, my rogue, to go open both treasures.
So now Craig gets to reach into the box and pull out 2 treasures.
And I pull out dragon bait, which is cool. Transform all remaining monsters into dragon faces. That's cool if you have, and we'll talk about dragons in a minute, but if you have the right number of things that can take on the dragon, then you can use that to turn everything into dragons, which means the dragon automatically kills you, and you've got what it takes to kill him. And I have a dragon scale. Not great.
All right. So
each pair of dragon scales is worth 2 additional experience points at the end of the game. But you have to have 2 to get that bonus.
So Craig's got his 2 treasures. He puts them aside. Now, he doesn't have to reveal this to any other player.
They're all hidden.
So he can put them face down so no one sees what they are. Can hold them till the end of the game for experience points, or if he decides he wants to spend that one to do the dragon trick, he can. Now we run to level 3. Craig has just succeeded in clearing level 3.
Yep.
He's got a few dice left.
I have only a champion. I think I rolled too many.
So he can now.
Yes, I rolled 1 too.
All right. So he can now stop and take the 3 experience points. Plus, he already got his 2 treasure.
I get another wizard.
Or he can press his luck and go for level 4. But he's got to hope I don't roll too many monsters that he can't defeat with this current combination of guys.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say
I'm going to push it.
You're going to push it. Okay. So
I have a wizard, a champion, and a scroll. So
all right.
Yeah.
So we're going to push it. I roll. I'm going to roll 4 dice. I roll 3 dragons and a slime.
Okay, that's not good.
Now, dragons we haven't talked about yet. So what happens with dragons is if you roll some dragons, the dragons go off to the side in a separate pile called the Dragon Lair. Again, if you have the Tool Collector's Edition, you have the 2 cards to one represents the graveyard, one represents the Dragon's Lair. But you just put them aside on the table someplace. They go in the Dragon's Lair, and you fight them when they get to 3. So if I'd only rolled 1 dragon, we put it aside. It would stay there. And as long as Craig keeps delving, we keep the dragons over to the side. When they get to 3, he must immediately take care of the dragons.
Yep.
But since I rolled 3 in one hand, he's got to deal with the dice I rolled first. He's got to deal with the slime, and then he's got to deal with the dragon to defeat this level. So the slime first, Craig, what are you going to do for that? You want to use your scroll?
I can't defeat the dragon, so I'm done.
Okay, so he could defeat the
unless
slime.
I have treasure that is going to. No, I can't. Still, you need one of each of 3 different types of adventurers to defeat the dragon, basically.
Right.
And I have a wizard and a champion, so I would need a 3rd type of.
Now, don't you have a scroll
of adventurer? I have a. What can you do with a scroll, Russ?
Well, you could spend the scroll to get a die back out of the graveyard.
That is correct. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do.
Right.
I am going to take my dragon bait treasure, turn the slime mold into a dragon.
There you go.
And then I am going to use the scroll to get back an adventurer of any particular type. So let's say I'll take a fighter. So now I have a fighter, a champion, and a wizard. I will use those 3 to defeat the dragon. So I have now defeated level 4. But in addition to that, I have defeated a dragon, which gives me 5 XP?
Well, no, you get an immediate experience point.
You get 1 XP and a pull from the
treasure pull.
Yep.
And then, so he's going to get that. Plus, he's going to get the experience from level 4. He probably wants to stop now because he spent all of his stuff.
Yes, I will.
So Craig scored 4 XP, an extra treasure from the dragon, an extra treasure from the experience from the dragon. So we got 5 XP that level plus all that treasure.
Yeah.
So that's an example of pretty much all the kind of machinations you can go through to fight your way through the dragons. And because he was able to turn that other die into a dragon, when you get 3 or more dragon dice up, you just fight the dragon once. Doesn't matter how many dragon dice there are.
Correct.
So that allowed him to get through that and keep on going.
Yep. Ta-da!
So that's the whole way it works. Now, after you have retired, so Craig's going to he's in the regroup phase now. Craig can decide, I'm going to stop now. He gets 6 experience points, and now play passes to me, the next player, and my player to my left is going to be the Overlord, and I'm going to now try to get as far as I can and get as much experience points as possible. And that's the whole game.
Yep, that's it.
That's the whole darn thing in a nutshell. And Craig, what other examples? I mean, we should probably give some examples of the hero powers.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I love the little books it comes with because they're all very fluffy, but they also tell you what their special ability is. Okay, for instance, and this is the not the expansion pack that was available at Gen Con. This is the original 8 cards. It comes with and remember, they've each got 2 names because it's their original name and then their leveled up name. So Crusader Paladin.
Yep.
The Paladin is a holy warrior, loyal to her deity. She pays her tithes, and when in need, she can count. I can't read. Count on divine. Anyway, it's a big little paragraph. Special ability: fighters may be used as clerics, and clerics may be used as fighters, which is cool because each one of those has an array of or one specific type of monster that they can kill all of. So if you've got all fighters or all clerics or most of one or the other, she's really good to have. And then each one of them has a once per delve power. Her once per delve power is Crusader may be used as a fighter or a cleric. So she herself steps in to fight as a fighter or a cleric. And then when she turns into a paladin, once she has 5 experience points, fighters may be used as clerics. Clerics may be used as fighters. I don't think that part ever changes. What changes is your ultimate once per delve ability. Hers becomes Divine Intervention. Discard 1 treasure token to defeat all monsters, open all chests, quaff all potions, and discard all dice in the dragon's lair. This does not count as fighting the dragon. Do not draw any treasure or gain any experience. You may draw treasure for each chest opened. So basically, she sacrifices 1 treasure and wipes out an entire level of a dungeon.
Which is awesome.
Awesome.
So each of the heroes basically has their own always-on power or power you can use frequently, and then they also have a superpower they can use once per delve.
Yep.
And they do level up once. So once you get the first 5 experience points, you flip your hero over to their awesomer side.
One of my favorites is you can have the half goblin, and once per delve, you can transform 1 goblin that's attacking you into a thief that's fighting for you.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty awesome, and that's pretty much it. Now the other things, they're the treasure examples. We already talked about some of those in the thing. So your treasure is risky, is interesting because the treasure itself is worth experience points if you hang on to it, but you're often tempted to spend it.
Right.
So, and if you spend it, you don't get it back. You go put it back in the box. So.
Yep. And the thing to keep in mind about the treasure is most of the treasures or many of the treasures serve as a companion, is basically their power. Right. So I always forget this. So and because I'm a hoarder by nature, so I've got a giant pile of treasure in front of me, and I totally forget that they all count, or most of them count as adventure dice.
Right.
So I'm like, oh no, I don't want to go any deeper into the dungeon. But then you start to do the math in your head, and you're like, oh, that's going to cost me. Do I really want to use those 2 treasures to get 1 level deeper? Because that's only going to be 1 more XP, and I'm losing 2. So there's all kinds of cool little meta math going on at the same time. That's not brain breaking in any way, shape, or form, but it's just a cool layer to the game that you have to take into account.
Right. Also, what I like about the game is there is a way to play it solo if you want to play around, just spend some time playing with dice. And they have a little chart in there of the point values you should try to get to by yourself to consider yourself a good dungeon delver. Mm-hmm. And there's some fun little achievements in there too, like defeat the dragons twice in 1 delve, things like that. Try to shoot for it for solo play. So that's pretty much it. Not a complicated game. It's a quick 15-20 minute filler. A lot of fun. Really captures the theme. You actually do feel like you're going through the dungeon, and the pressure luck elements is a lot of fun. You'll find yourself coaxing your friends to try to go 1 more level and hope they fail. So let's give our final thoughts. Before we do, Craig.
Yes.
In the style of a panicked gnome about to face down a dragon by himself, please describe the patent-pending D6G rating system.
Hello?
Where did everybody go? Oh my god, Dave left me all alone. I'm terrified. I know there's a dragon in here somewhere, but one of my gadgets might help me. Alright, now, if a dragon comes along, this weapon that I have just built has a certain percentage of chance to defeat the dragon. But I have to figure out how good is the weapon that I'm grading right now, that I'm rating, if you will. So, as the standard gnome union representative, I know that the rating system goes like this. We rate on a 1 through 5 system going backwards, and doubling for twin linked, which actually doesn't actually mean half, but we do anyway because gnomish math is far more advanced than human math. So, if this weapon has a really great chance of taking out that dragon, then I'm going to give it a 2+. Ooh, here it comes. 2+ with a reroll. But if it doesn't have a chance, then it's going to be like a 6+. So the higher the number the bad, the lower the number the good, and hold please.
Nice.
There you go.
Okay, excellent. Well, Craig, what do you think of this game, Dungeon Roll?
Alrighty. Well, I think this game is awesome because it's fun and it's light. It is extremely easy to pick up. Literally after watching the first person roll the first set of dice, you know exactly what you're doing. The game comes with these awesome little reference cards that tell you pretty much everything you need to know about the game. There's literally, except for a couple little minor things, like occasionally you might forget how a scroll works. You're going to have all of the different, like what kills how many of what thing is on one side, and all of the treasure and all of their abilities is on the other. So it's really, really accessible. It's really easy. It's fun. It's a push your luck game. So that's always, it's engaging as you're going, even though you're not directly fighting against the other people, except for the case where you're the dungeon against the person on your left or right. I forget. But anyway, you're constantly paying attention. You're involved. You're like, you're engaged, and it's very quick. I think it's a very beautiful looking game between the box and the dice, which are all very nice and extremely well made and multicolored, like you said. I think that anytime they do an expansion pack, it needs to be bought. Yes. Just because I think it's cool to have all these options. I have heard that some of the second round of adventurer cards are a little over the top. I haven't seen any of those in play yet, but I have heard bad things about the Undead Viking.
Oh dear.
However, I think we should also mention that they just started a Kickstarter, more as a thank you to the fans that bought the game than anything else. It's a $5. It's actually $2 or more, and they suggest $5, but you can do it for $2 if you want. And it's an expansion pack with character cards and treasures based on a holiday theme.
All right.
It's very cool. Jack Frost is in there. Klaus, the Saint of the North, is in there.
Now I got to go back at Craig. I've forgotten about this.
Yeah, I backed it as soon as I saw it, because why wouldn't you? Literally. And I think it was very cool of them to say it needs to be at least $2 to cover shipping, but anything over that we appreciate, but you don't have to do. So, and one of our friends actually did all the math. Dave from the Nerd Herders did the math, and the number of backers dividing the total money that's made so far averages out to just about $5. So gamers are good people. That's the lesson there. Wow. And I think you really need to go to inkedplaymats.com and get the Dungeon Roll mat, which is really cool. It has a dice graveyard and a dragon's lair space and a really cool 3D little like graph paper drawing of a dungeon, the levels 1 through 10, so you can actually keep track. And I use a campaign coin to track with a dragon on it to track the party as they're going down.
Yep.
So how would I rate this game? I think that I'm going to give this game a 3+ with a reroll.
Ooh.
Because it's so light and quick and fun. If you do not like light, quick, fun games, -2. Because this is the epitome of a light, quick, fun game. Or you don't like press your luck games or anything like that. But if you do like dungeon delves, dungeon crawls, things like that, it's going to be a +1. So 2+ with a reroll if you like dungeon crawl games.
Nice. Well, I'm going to pretty much agree with you across the board. Components are nice. I love the dice. I think the price point's fantastic, especially the $15 price point at Gen Con was just...
That was a no-brainer.
Stupid good.
Yeah.
But even at $20, it's a more than fair price for that level of dice quality.
Yeah.
and the amount of fun in that box is just over the top. I do wish that it had the promo cards that come with the original Kickstarter version with a little area for the Dragon's Lair and the Graveyard. Really are nice little kick it up the notch. The inked pad I like too, but the ink pad doesn't fit back in the box.
No, that's the negative on
So what I do like about the cards that come with the Kickstarter version was great. You got it all back in the box, which is kind of neat.
Yep.
Love it, love it, love it. I think it's very innovative. It's very fast playing. It's got a little more meat on its bones than like a game like Zombie Dice. It's got a little more to it.
Yep.
Still easy to teach. The kids that I've introduced to it like it. Grown-up gamers love it. It's just a great way to burn a few minutes waiting for some friends to show up and play the bigger game you're waiting for. So, highly recommend it. I'm with you, Craig. I'm just going to say it's a straight up 3+.
Okay.
3+. Some people don't like dice games, so if you're that guy, you're not going to like it.
That's true.
But I think it's a lot of fun, and at the price, you can't beat it.
No.
So, Dungeon Roll, check it out.
And go in a dungeon!
D6 Generation Podcast. All of the mysteries of gamer culture revealed. The D6 Generation. Born to game.
Hey, and so the cold rains are starting up here in the Northeast, and that means our minds turn towards vacations.
Exactly right. Get the heck out of Dodge while it's cold like this.
That's right. It's just going to keep getting colder. And there's nothing quite like going to someplace warm with a bunch of people who feel the same way you do, or someplace cold. As long as you're with people who feel the same way you do about the same sorts of things. And there's only one company that does that with the absolute highest in planning and service, and that's Geek Nation Tours.
Geek Nation Tours. Craig, they're already working on the Gen Con 2014 tour.
I have got to tell you, Russ, that I am already signing up for almost everything he's got going on that tour because he's doing all the coolest stuff.
All the things. That's what's happening right now with Terrace. So, head on over to geeknationtours.com, click on upcoming tours, and scroll down and click on that Gen Con 2014 tour to see the crazy. There's no better way to get in gaming early, to get in all the actions, the big welcome dinner with exclusive meetings with all kinds of folks from the industry, including us, members of the Dice Tower Network. It's going to be fantastic. Good times.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And if you're looking for someplace more exotic, he's got trips to Japan. Mm-hmm. He's got trips to the UK. He's got trips to Mexico. He's got trips to Civil War battlefields. He's got everything. And in every one of these trips, you're going to have a nice big dinner where he's going to have people from the region come to you and have a big orientation, everything. So you don't miss a thing. That's the key. And you're not just talking about one convention either. You're talking about different cultural things that would interest people with our common backgrounds all around the region where you're going to be spending the focus of your time.
Exactly right. So head on over to geeknationtours.com.
Yahoo!
This edition of Did You Ever Notice is brought to you by Dennis, who'd like to say, on behalf of all the D6Gers out there, I'd like to congratulate Craig on the release of his first book. I hope to buy you and Russ a drink at Gen Con next year, if you're not too uppity by then, that is. Dennis. Thanks, Dennis.
Did you ever notice how lonely you can be when you're traveling for business and you've got nobody around with you? Well, that's kind of how I felt when I went to HonorCon 2 weekends ago. I was super excited to go to HonorCon, of course, because I'm a big Honor Harrington fan. I'm a big David Weber fan. But I was thinking a little bit that I was going to be a little nervous because I had never gone to a con all by myself before. If you think about it, a lot of my travel has been involving group travel. So I have traveled all over the world with groups between 40 and 90 people. And then if you think about most of the conventions I go to, I'm bringing at least a small posse of 3 or 4 people with me, if not 10 to 20 people with me when it's something like Gen Con. So going to South Carolina for the first time since, I've driven through South Carolina, but that was about it. and I was all by myself. So to be totally honest, I'm a little nervous, and I get a little nervous. I'm a nervous Nelly, actually. But when we're talking about like doing grown-up things all by yourself, and it's not this admission does not come easy. I get nervous when it comes to getting on planes by myself. I don't know why. It's not like I've ever missed a plane or done anything silly or been incapable of being an adult. But when I'm called upon to be an adult, I get nervous, and I don't know why. So things like getting a rental car, I get nervous. Things like driving myself to a brand new hotel from an airport, I get nervous. So my whole I'd put that off. I'd focused on I was going to bring a couple of my books with me. It was just going to be exciting. I knew Gina, David Weber's assistant, through emails and phone conversations and such, and that's it. That's all I knew. And then about 3 days before I left, Fred Quiche, a longtime listener of the show, tweeted me, of all things, and I do. Okay, I don't even. My phone's all messed up. I don't even get half the tweets. But anyway, I saw he tweeted me that he was going, and I was like, oh my god, that's cool. So we'll meet. Yeah, that'll be neat. Other than that, I knew no one, and I was very, very nervous. So I'm very nervous. So yeah. Anyway, so I've been doing this thing lately, which is bizarre to me, and it is I have a recharger for my phone in my car, and I plug it in automatically, and I don't know why, but I plug it in automatically, and then I forget my phone in my car. I did it when I went to the Renaissance Fair with my son, and I forgot my phone in my car, and then realized that they didn't let you go out and then come back in, so I didn't take any pictures of any amazing things that happened there, including he's been terrified of ponies, and then all of a sudden he wanted to ride a pony, so his first pony ride I don't have a picture of. Just really bad stuff. So I wanted to make sure I had everything on my phone that I needed for this trip. So I parked at the satellite lot and walked, because I was kind of running late, walked to the terminal and got to the terminal and realized that I didn't have my phone with me because I left it in my car. So I had to run all the way back, and then I ran all the way to the terminal again, pouring sweat now, despite the fact that it was like cold and rainy here in New Hampshire. Pouring sweat, waiting in the security line, and all I could think was, oh my god, they're going to think I'm a terrorist, because I'm standing here, it's cold, it's New England, and I am just pouring sweat, and I must have been bright red. Luckily, that didn't cause any problems. I went through security, everything was fine there, except that I tried to get through my board game of Firefly, and apparently that looked suspicious on the x-ray, and they got in a fight. 2 TSA agents got in a fight in front of me. One was like, it's a board game, let him go. The other was like, a board game? That doesn't look like a board game to me. So they opened it up, and as soon as they saw the picture, the first thing they said was, oh my god, Castle, I love him. So that was interesting. So they let me through, made it on my plane, everything was fine. I got my rental car, of course, everything was fine. Priceline worked out great for me. Went straight to the hotel, the Hyatt Regency in South Carolina, in Greenville, which was a beautiful hotel, by the way, and just a beautiful venue for a convention. It was a smaller convention, about maybe 200, 250 people. So well organized, really revolving around a bunch of different panel discussions and presentations, and most of them had to do with Honor Harrington, but some had to do with publishing and writing, and they had an entire writer's track, so all weekend long you could go there, and this is kind of what I did, and just go to all of the the writer track panels. It was amazing. I just had a blast. I wrote up an extensive report on my blog, McNerdiganspub.com, and I just had a great time. But the thing was that I knew no one, okay, and so I was crushingly lonely and awkward the whole weekend long. And it's weird because I think of myself sort of as a lone wolf kind of guy, and I realize I'm a lone wolf kind of guy when there's a pack nearby that I'm familiar with. Otherwise, I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? I'm just wandering around. And I spent a lot of time wandering around. There was just a small little vendor hall. I spent a lot of time there. But I got to know a bunch of the people, and it's funny because, well, funny in a tragic sort of way. As soon as I got there, for instance, I found Brian Haven, who with Gina was one of the co-chairs. And he was super, super, super nice. And he is a partner at Atlantis Games and Comics in Norfolk, Virginia. So he had a game there. He had his store there, and he was running the convention. So he was awesome, and we really hit it off. And he was a backer for Wild West Exodus, so we talked a lot about that. And at the same time, he didn't have a lot of extra time. Gina, of course, was super, super, super busy. I met Pat Doyle, who was the guy who was there, kind of working with Brian with the gaming that was going on. And unfortunately, they didn't get as many gamers as they hoped. So there wasn't a lot of gaming going on. It was mostly, like I said, an achievements, the Attack Wing, Star Trek Attack Wing game. But Pat was great. But, of course, he was busy running games all weekend. And I met Greg Whitaker, who worked with Brian, but he was in charge of the vendor hall, so it was awesome. Like, he got me into a book. He got a book signing for me, which was great. I sold both of the books I brought there, so technically that's my second selling out, or a sold out. I don't know. Selling out doesn't sound good. Anyway, so Greg was awesome, and he was a backer, so he actually bought one of the books, and Fred bought the other one, The Listener. So there were my two books. But the thing was, so like I was making friends, and these great guys were Chris Weave was the Toastmaster of the whole convention. So he was at every major event, giving speeches and introducing people. He introduced me. That was very embarrassing. I didn't really know this was going to happen until a half hour before the big opening ceremonies for the whole convention. And it turns out that I spoke more than any of the actual celebrities that were there. But anyway, so Chris Weave was awesome. I actually had dinner one night with Fred and Chris. And so I was meeting all these people, and I was making friends, and I was really, really like enjoying myself. But at the same time, they were all so brutally busy that I found these long stretches of time. Fred was awesome. He was always a friendly, smiley face. Wherever I saw him, he came over, he talked to me. But he was helping Chris run... there was an entire track of panel discussions about nothing but run almost entirely by real naval personnel about the Honor Harrington, the navies in Honor Harrington's world universe and the Honorverse. And so that was amazing. I actually sat in on one of those. That was great. But for the most part, I was just alone. And it just got me to thinking, like, this must be how, like, a lot of my friends who met me through gaming felt, because a lot of them are like, they feel this great social anxiety, and I have not felt that in a long time, and I realize it now. But it's because I surround myself with my friends and my family, because when I'm in a new situation, I am like crushed by the anxiety. And it all came back to me, going to graduate school for the first time, and that was it, actually, basically, since I went to graduate school. Even when I started working in professional theater, I actually went with one or two people that I already knew. So I had like a couple people that I already knew there, and so I think there may be something wrong with me, was what I thought. But yeah, I mean, literally almost paralyzing anxiety. But I worked through it, and it was awesome. And so now I have all these email pen pals, and a bunch of these guys you're probably going to hear about again in the future. And I worked through that, and it was just sort of sad that they were all really like the movers and the shakers of most of the stuff that was happening all weekend long. So they were super, super busy, but they were so nice to me. And I just wanted to mention that and just say, like, thank you to them, specifically those guys, Brian and Pat and Greg and Chris, and especially Fred, and of course Gina, who was awesome, but she was ridiculously busy the whole weekend I was there, and David Weber, who was also ridiculously gracious to me. I mean, you can only imagine how busy he was. And it was just awesome. And seeing all the people in uniform, I mean, the cosplay was crazy. I would say at least 30% of the people were dressed in these full-blown Manticoran Navy, Marine, and Army uniforms. So it was just crazy. There were a lot of tree cat adoptions, though, including myself, although I never wore mine on my shoulder. And so it was awesome. It was a great experience for me, meeting all these writers. Eric Flint, I listened to a bunch of the stuff he had to say. The publishers from Baen, who publish all of David Weber's books, especially Tony Weisskopf, who's the ruler of Baen. She was so funny and engaging as a speaker. Meeting all the Evergreen people, it was just awesome. I just had a grand old time. And that was it. So I worked through that anxiety, and believe me, it was crushing. And staying at La Quinta, of course, was awesome. But yeah, I wanted to take the time to thank everybody, and to at the same time say, guys, if you're feeling that anxiety, and believe me, I'm talking borderline didn't leave my hotel room. I was so just anxious about going each morning, but I did, and it was just a great experience. And if I could take one more moment to just say, hey, if there's any even slight inkling in your head that you might be interested in, say, a book about a melding of the Wild West and science fiction, I got a title for you. Give Honor Among Outlaws a try. Please. I'm just trying to sell these books. But awesome. And I want to thank everybody who's been emailing me about enjoying the books, and then thank you if those of you who haven't enjoyed it didn't email me, because I appreciated not getting those emails too. But that's about it for right now. That's about all I have to say about that. So thanks again for listening to me babble, and good night.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@thed6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
Nice. Steve, did you want to burst into song or anything here?
I got your level here. That's how you say it.
Get your level.
I got your level.